It's the penultimate round of the IAME Euro Series in 2024 as the paddock lands in Germany for finals day. This is Pro Kart Raceland Wackersdorf, also known as the karting capital of Europe. Situated in the heart of Bavaria, Wackersdorf is home to many of the country's sporting and cultural attractions. The area surrounding Pro Kart Raceland Wackersdorf is rich in natural beauty, cultural heritage and recreational opportunities. Whether you're looking to unwind in nature at the Steinberger am See, explore local history or indulge in Bavarian traditions, there is something for everyone to enjoy, including motorsports. Like we said, 200 of the world's finest IAME racers have descended upon the Wackersdorf circuit this weekend for round 3 of the IAME Euro Series. The racetrack itself, year of opening 1997, event record set in non-qualifying practice right at the beginning of the weekend by Joseph Smith of a 49.671. That may have differed throughout the rest of the weekend, but no one's been close to that time. It was a very competitive one. The track itself, though, absolutely fabulous. 1.1 kilometer circuit, 230 meters down the main start-finish straight. It's 125 meters down the infield straight. The track is around 9 meters and it widens to 12 meters at some parts of the circuit. Elevation around 3 meters. That'll of course be up the hill through turns 1, then it comes back downhill through 3 and 4, then back up again and so forth and so forth. The track flattens as you head into the last sector of the track. Turns, 11 of them in total, 7 to the right, 4 to the left. And that includes 4 hairpins out on the circuit. And those 4 hairpins generally tend to be the main overtaking opportunities in towards turn number 2, turns 4, 9, and turns number 10. All the drivers have been overtaking fiercely through those corners, but we have seen overtakes in towards turn 1, round the final corner as well as into the chicane. So there are plenty of overtaking opportunities for the drivers. Top speed, these drivers will be reaching around the circuit around 120 kilometers an hour into the run in towards turn number 1. Average speed around 85 kilometers an hour that these drivers will have to deal with. The lap is quick, the lap is fast. It's also a very challenging but demanding circuit for the drivers. Myself, Anthony Jordan, and Guillaume Alvarez in the commentary box. Guillaume, finals day is finally here, and we're looking forward to it.
We're definitely looking forward for day 3 of round 3 of IAME X30 Euro Series 2024. Welcome everybody, welcome in Germany as we get ourselves ready for 10 races on schedule. The first one starting with the X30 mini class for the first of the 2 Superheats. There will be 2 of those races for each of the classes. 7 races in the morning with the Consolation race for the senior class for all the drivers, unfortunately, who didn't make the cut within the first 72 places available for both Superheats. And then the 3 finals for the afternoon. Welcome along on YouTube, on Facebook, on Motorsport TV. And before we get ourselves ready for racing with the first grid that you can see on screen, let's have a look back at what happened yesterday in the mini class during the qualifying races.
Saturday for Mini X30 was another action-packed grid of racing. So many drivers aiming for the same part of the track. With the Minis, it's the smallest karts, means you get about 5 or 6 wide throughout some of the parts of the racing track. Zach Green and Zdeněk Babacek fighting fiercely in the first race of the day alongside Novella Morales, but it would be Charles Sayer who would send it down the inside, which would force Will Green to retire from his first race, would put him in turmoil for the rest of the day. Ludwig Granqvist would go down the inside in some stages of the race. He'd be battling with Maxim Bobrojov, who would take his first win in the second race of the day after Zdeněk Babacek. Will Green would fight back fiercely, though, in the third race. He would take the win and his first win of the weekend, despite the fact that retirement earlier on. Jarlis Sayer as well, another driver who was being really competitive and really showing strong performances. He would take his first win of the weekend as well before drama would strike later on in the day. Brian Bruno getting the moves done and moving up forward, but this moment here for Jarlis Sayer would mean he would not start anywhere near the top. It would go the way of Brian Bruno. Will Green later on would get his second win of the day, but again, referring back to that first crash, he would not be starting on the front row. That would go to Zdeněk Babacek. Well, a very exciting day of racing yesterday, fully action-packed, and as you can see, the engines have fired up, and the first of the Superheats has made its way out onto the circuit. So let's quickly run through that starting lineup. Zdeněk Babacek starts this one on pole position, currently sitting 8th in the championship standings. We'll have Novella Morales starting alongside, who was 6th in time qualifying. Oliver Warner and Tony Casafero round out row number 2. They'll have Harley Musk and Austin Newstead on row 3. Newstead 2nd in the championship. No Grenier and Christian Kobe round out row number 4 ahead of Sukmani Kira and Antoine Venet, who round out the top 10 on row 5. Mathis Brageau, who was on pole position at the end of time qualifying, sits on the 6th row of the grid alongside Jarlis Sayer, who is 7th in the championship standings.
Row number 7, we'll see Samuel Hugon and Andrea Pavel. Then we have Julian van de Cotterle and Ivan Gonzalez, followed on row number 9 by Baptiste Augustin and Attica Mir, Pato Medina and Guido Ebergheni on row number 10, and the grid completed by Elias Sami. A total of 21 drivers onto the grid, 10 laps to go through for the first of 10 races on schedule for this Sunday, the first of the Superheats. And keep in mind that only 36 places are available for the final this afternoon out of the 46 competitors that we have this weekend in the mini class. Martin Bean, the race director of the IAME X30 Euro Series, the man in charge on track, with both of his eyes very much open on anything that's happening, with the help of the officials from race control and a lot of cameras. Here they are with the head of race control in the middle, Joanna Falcao, surrounded by Sarah Blanco and Michael Redin. The other ones with up to 40 cameras on track, keeping all of the eyes very close onto the action, reporting to the officials and making the decisions post-race. So a lot of people very much busy on and off the track here for our own pleasure. Car racing at its best, and a beautiful show of yellow flag once again.
Right, drivers enter the tram lines. We're going round again. They're a little bit eager on that loud pedal, I think. They hit the throttle really, really early on there, so they will go round once more. Now, of course, drivers in the midi category, they do have another set of tyres ready for them. They can deploy at this point of the weekend. Not sure if any of them have. Well, actually, they have deployed that. And, well, to be understandable, it's everyone who starts from the 8th row backwards have all deployed brand new sets of tyres. Now, they're in that danger zone, really, aren't they? They're in that cutoff of people that might not make it through into the final later on. So they need to get good results in this one. Everyone else hasn't deployed it, i.e. from the 1st row all the way to the 7th row. They've not deployed fresh tyres. They are saving those for that final later on. So these drivers who are at the back, they're at the back foot right now. They might come through, but that final later on, they'll be on the back foot again. Drivers making their way again to the red line in formation. Nicely done there. Good to see. It's been a good run of race starts on this one. The track is certainly favourable to the drivers. A nice, fast, sweeping, open final corner. Nice big open tram lines as the lights go green. We are racing for the first Superheat of the day. And look at the start there for Morales. Absolutely wheel to wheel with Babacek, but Babacek with the inside line will hold on to it. Warner goes through as well. It is still 2 rows. Novella Morales on the outside is going to try and squeeze into second and does so. A brilliant start for the Spaniard as they all dive their way through into turn 3. Now there's yellow flags out. There are some drivers who have struggled a little bit at the start of that race, and I think Antoine Venet is one of them with Mathis Brageau, the pole sitter. There was a handful of others as well further down the order, but crucially everyone is still running.
Yeah, pretty much so, and that's a shame for Antoine Venet that he got stuck there in a bit of a bad luck into turn number 1. And another driver actually being squeezed outside of turn number 9 at the end of the opening lap on the inside. Well, in the Fusions getting ahead of the 867. This is Novella Morales, who was stuck a little bit on the grass, dropping momentum, I'm afraid, for him, as pretty much everybody through. Lap 1 completed. Let's have a look at the gaps as all the Fusion teammates pretty much in the same picture. Zdeněk Babicek leading the way half of a second already in front of Oliver Warner, winner of round number 2 in Franciacorta. As run inside goes the 8:09. This is further back. Jarla Seyer getting ahead of Austin Newstead for P5. Austin Newstead was one of the fastest in this morning's warm-up sessions, and he keeps on going. Jarla Seyer this time around in front of Zunkani Kera for P4. So 2 places gained in 2 corners for Jarla Seyer on a very good rhythm. Don't forget that he had a bit of a moment and a DNF in his last race yesterday, so he needs to score good and strong results in this superheat just to get his confidence back up and running for the final coming this afternoon. And he's busy doing that. 2 places gained in the space of 1 lap. Babicek into the last corner, Oliver Warner, and we have Tony Cacciaferro down in P3. Jarla Seyer for the back, leading the second wagon with Kera, Musk in front of Newstead, Morales, Grenier, and Van de Kotterle climbing 5 places up to P10.
Well, a quick recap of the drivers at the back of the field who had all deployed their fresh set of tyres. Julien Courtelet is 10th at the moment, has gained 5 places after starting from the 8th row of the grid. Baptiste Augustin also 5 places gained, is up into P12, so they're making good progress here as well. Ivan Gonzalez, Guido Ebegeni as well, another driver, all with those fresh tyres. Are starting to push their way through the order. The battle here at the front, though, Babicek, Warner, and Cacciaferro, very close. But when we get to the superheat stage of the weekend, something clicks in a mini X30 driver's head, which says, don't overtake, push, break away from the rest of the field, and let's try and stay where we are, which is 1, 2, 3, because we know that we're all going to make it to the final.
Yeah, in these positions, that's very much likely. Hopefully nothing wrong will happen between those 4 drivers in the lead. As they run inside, switch for P3, and Jarla Seyer on a very good pace at the beginning of lap number 4. And that's another positions gain for the young British driver in front of Tony Cacciaferro from MTC Racing. He's going to try to put his Birelot machine back into the top 3. And as you said, indeed, still very much in formation, those young drivers from the mini class, between 8 and 12 years of age. The youngest driver is on track this weekend. And another move around inside of turn number 9. Jarla Seyer once again. Beautiful performance and a gesture from the British driver, telling his opponents to just keep on working. And it goes to the strategy that we just talked about earlier, saying that it's at this point pointless to get yourselves into too much of a fight. What counts is the final, and just you need to make it through in one piece with the best positions that you can find. Jarla Seyer very much on a charge, and can he actually make his bid run inside, but the door is shut, and that could put him in the close of both Warner and Cacciaferro. Warner on the outside, not quite able to make it stick this time around. Let's see at the next breaking point, the door is still very much shut by Zdeněk Babicek, going aggressive, defending his position. That's fair and square, but it seems to me that Zdeněk Babicek hasn't been able to build the gap in the first part of the race. He's going to find himself under intense pressure, and it remains to be seen if one of them in the pack will be willing to attack him.
Well, this is understandable why Zdeněk Babicek is going defensive right now, because, yes, it is Jarla Seyer who's right there behind us. Newstead goes wheel-to-wheel with Sukmani Kira. Yeah, Babicek, let's talk about Jarla Seyer. Yesterday, didn't have the strongest results. Did take a race win in a second, but a P19 and a P20, 2 retirements from his races in there. Tyres will be a little bit in better shape on this one because those accidents happened, well, one of them happened on the last lap, so he technically did a full heat there, but one of them happened relatively early on in the race. So again, he's in a sort of position where the tyres are a little bit more fresher than the rest, and the pace that he's got this morning, absolutely phenomenal, as he's already gained 10 places in this race, as Jarla says. So Babicek really, really cautious for that matter. Now, Seyer, we saw it a moment ago, was saying to Babicek on the start-finish line, right, go, 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 don't defend, don't do that, I'm not going to attack you, I'll work with you and push through. But again, I think Babicek doesn't want it to just be a 2-horse race on this one. I think he wants to have the likes of Tony Cacciaferro and Oliver Warner right there behind, because he knows that, okay, if Seyer doesn't get past me, he'll drop back a little bit more and it won't be such a threat.
Let's not forget also that there's not only pole position for the final at stake, but also the points for the championship when it comes to Zdeněk Babicek. And your leader, as we enter lap number 7, is leading the current classification here in Wackersdorf, 1 point in front of Priam Bruno, who will be starting on pole for the race just after. And when it comes to the championship, Priam Bruno is sitting in P3 at the moment, P8 for Zdeněk Babicek. And the winner of the overall classification just before the final takes 10 points when it comes to the series, 25 for the victory in the final. So there's a lot at stake as well for Zdeněk Babicek to recover a little bit before the last round of the series in Genk by the end of August. So he is more than willing to win this one to try to secure pole position. And Priam Bruno will be the one under pressure, because if Zdeněk Babicek wins, they will be still split by 1 point, which means that Priam Bruno, whatever happens in his race, need to take the win as well to secure that front row start. Won't get the chance to get all 10 points, still a good bunch of them, but it remains to be seen afterwards. The 832, unfortunately, running into trouble. Let's try to see who it is.
Medina, the Mexican driver for Crop Promotion, having a spin out of turn number 10. Not sure how it happened. We weren't actually looking at it at the time. I just spotted it in the background of the camera. It's clearly not been a great weekend for Pasadena, and that might be a struggle now to get through into that final.
Yeah, quite unfortunate indeed. There were 46 of them at the start of the weekend, but only a bunch of that, 36, will get to make it to the final. So 10 of those drivers, unfortunately, will be left on the sideline with no redemption, at least for this weekend in Wackersdorf. Zdeněk Babicek, Charles Lasseyer still glued together. At this point, Charles Lasseyer, as we said, due to his two less comfortable results of yesterday, is not fighting for any pole position or place within the top 8, but still he wants to have wants to secure the best starting position that he can have. For Zdeněk Babicek, there's points and pole at stake, so he wants to stay ahead as much as possible. And those two have really been a big of a gap. 1.2 seconds from Oliver Warner, front of Cacciaferro, Chiara van der Kotterle, Musk, Newstad, Gonzalez, and Augustin, the 862. Baptiste Augustin climbing 7 places from P17 and now knocking on the door of the top 10. Some of those drivers indeed starting from the back end of the grid with fresher boots and trying to pull off a bit of a performance to save their weekend after what had been a difficult set of qualifying races. Now we're heading towards the conclusion of that first superheat, as that's the current classification, but we're not quite there yet. Just one lap to go. Oh, and 818. This is Sumaki Kera from P5. Had a bit of a moment out there.
Yep, certainly so. Wide out of turn number 10. Not what you want to see, especially near the end of this race. Right now, usually when we get to this point of a race, you start to see battles. But Charles Lasseyer again communicating with Zdeněk Babicek just to go. Now, is he throwing the dummy? Is Babicek going to listen to him? Well, at the moment, he's staying true to his word. He's not going defensive. He's not bringing the likes of Oliver Warner or Tony Cacciaferro into play here, as they've swapped positions again. Harley Musk has just got past Julien Cotelet as well, who's gone down to 7th place, but is still up 8 places in this one, the same as Augustin and Gonzalez. Eyes on this battle here. Babicek at the moment leads it and is clear by just 1 point ahead of Bruno Priam. But again, Priam Bruno's not going to be able to beat that one, despite the fact even if he wins his next race, he won't be able to beat it. One change here between these two would affect that, but I don't think we're going to see it. Across the start-finish line, it will be Zdeněk Babicek who will take the checkered flag and will be the pole sitter for the final later on today. And he takes the 10 championship points to his name. Oh dear, and into the pit lane. That's not gone well at all for Antoine Vinet. Vinet out of this race. His NASA panel there just flicking up, so clearly been disconnected. But for Zdeněk Babicek, that is exactly what he needed. Pole position for the final and 10 championship points to his name. That bumps him up nicely in that order. He is fighting at the moment for that championship. He's not at the sharp end of it, but he's close to it at the moment in that championship standing. Zdeněk Babicek currently sitting 8th at the moment. His highest championship point score is only 10 championship points, so he needs a good result in this final right now. Scored no points at Franciacorta, did Zdeněk Babicek. So he's really on the back foot here, but a win there, maximum points here, and hopefully a final later on for him could mean a nice chunk of points.
And Zdeněk Babicek has been in this position before, earlier in this championship. It was at the Winter Cup, to be precise, the first event of the IAME Euro Series international program. So just before round 1 in Zuera, it happened in February in Valencia. Tadej Babicek had won indeed the Superheat number 2. And at the Winter Cup, he had been leading the heat in Zuera at round 1. So that position he found himself in was for round 1 indeed. Now, all he needs to do is to try to translate that beautiful performance of his into similar results and maybe a podium finish into the final. Tadej Babicek, winner of the Superheat number 1 in the mini class. Let's see how things unfolded with a great start from the left side from the Teps Racing driver with Nivola Morales by his side, trying to shake him up a little bit on the way to turn at number 2. Was a getaway pretty much clear for everybody. Antoine Venant, the unfortunate Belgian driver, who would end his race with a DNF, being stuck a little bit with some of the drivers out there, giving a yellow flag into this opening lap. But for Tadej Babicek, it was a good start and a little bit of a gap already, as some of the drivers, Tony Cacciaferro, Oliver Warner, getting ahead of Nivola Morales, who would drop a little bit of momentum, and he would see the end of this race very much further back into the classification. P14 only for Nivola Morales. A race to forget, unfortunately, for the Spaniard.
Certainly so. Action happened between the Fusion trio in this race and the likes of BMR's Austin Newstead, trying to push his way through, but would finish that race in P8 for second in the championship, and that really puts him again on the back foot in the intermediate classifications and the chance of scoring championship points as well. That's probably the most important thing, because he sits outside the top 8. But there is still another race to go for Mini X30. So we are going to find out who is going to be dropping out of the final. That was the heartbreak moment there for Pato Medina. Unfortunately, the Mexican out of the race and tumbling down the order. The same could be said for Antoine Venet, retiring from the race and finishing that one in P21. The race finished, though, and Tadej Babicek would be your top driver ahead of Jarlis Seyer, Oliver Warner and Tony Cacciaferro, but it is Tadej Babicek who leads the intermediate classifications. He cannot be beaten. He has 5 points. His next closest driver is Priam Bruno, but he has 6 points. Even if he wins, he will not go minus 1 point or 2 points. He will only get 0. He will stay on 6. So no one can start on pole for that final other than Tadej Babicek. But we could see a difference for who else starts on the front row of the grid. And for this one, Priam Bruno has the best shot of that one as he starts this one on the front row of the grid. 3rd in the championship standings. He needs good results here. He needs it right now because, again, he's fighting with Tadej Babicek. So lots happening over the course of this weekend. We did catch up with Priam Bruno, though, after the qualifying heats phase. Here's what he had to say.
Priam Bruno, who will end up as one of the pole sitters of the mini category. Tadej Babicek finishing as overall leader at the end of the qualifying races. But Priam Bruno, despite that last race and the win going to another driver, well, he will get the pole position for the second race for just 1 point. So that's a good chance to talk to you, Priam. Priam, bravo à toi. Voilà que tu termines 2e du classement général au terme de cette journée. Et c'est la pole position pour la 2e super manche de demain matin. Donc comment est-ce qu'on se sent au terme de cette journée?
Bah, j'ai fait une très bonne journée. Première manche, 3e position. 2e manche, 3e position aussi. Et ici, maintenant que je la gagne, bah, pour moi, c'est une très bonne nouvelle. Et après, demain, essayer de faire mieux.
So 2P3 and a win, of course, the best of day for Priam Bruno. Is going to try to do even better coming to Sunday. That's the spirit that we like to hear from those young drivers. Priam, ça n'a pas toujours été facile, évidemment. Tu as été chercher ces résultats donc, avec le cœur et avec le coup de volant qui va avec. En voyant la compétition jusqu'ici, qu'est-ce que tu penses que tu peux nous faire demain?
Bah, essayer de gagner. Et après, bah, si on ne gagne pas, essayer de faire un top 3 pour le championnat.
Trying to reach at least the top 3, but the victory will be his only goal for Priam Bruno, having seen the level he's been able to race at today in Wackersdorf. One last question, maybe, Priam, when you find yourself into that situation, knowing that you can fight at the front before the last day, does your spirit coming to Sunday change a little bit? Est-ce que ton état d'esprit change un petit peu? Tu t'adaptes au fait que tu es parmi les favoris et que tu peux faire la différence demain, ou c'est quelque chose dont tu essaies de faire abstraction?
Bah, j'essaie de faire extraction parce que si je pense à ça, bah, parfois je peux faire une mauvaise décision et faire une très bonne nouvelle.
Impeccable. Merci beaucoup de nous avoir parlé aujourd'hui et bonne chance pour demain. Merci beaucoup, Priam Bruno. Thanks for talking to us. At the end of this busy day, 2P3 and a win for Priam Bruno, the pole sitter of Superheat number 2 tomorrow for the mini category.
Great to chat there to Priam Bruno, starting this one on pole position yesterday. Good results for him. Third in time qualifying, 2 third place finishes. And the last race of the day was a race win for Priam Bruno. So good results all the way throughout. But let's take you through the starting lineup then for Superheat 2. It is Priam Bruno starting on the front row of the grid. We'll have Ludwig Granqvist alongside 6th in the championship, and 2 second places eluded that first qualifying heat win. George Clark finished starting this one 2nd with Maxim Bobrajov alongside. Maxim Bobrajov 4th in the championship and a race win yesterday as well. Will Green, championship leader, starts this one 3rd row of the grid. That 20th place, that retirement, was an absolute shame for him because he ended the day on 2 qualifying heat wins. 11 Hill, El Gahoudi alongside. Harry Williams and Bruno Greeling go from row 4 ahead of Freddie Wood and Colby Patterson on row 5. Alexandre Point and Eden Vallejo go from row 6. Row number 7 is Nick Reed, who's deployed new tyres. We'll have Aurelien Lemaire alongside as well. Milo Cornell and Daniel Ferguson go from row 8. Cornell going for a brand new set of tyres. Teddy J. Porter and Alfie Davidson on row 9 ahead of Luca Potaro and Min Jae Kim on the last 2 rows. All 4 of those drivers have also deployed brand new tyres. Once again, Guillaume, carbon copy of what we saw in the first Superheat. Drivers who are right at the back of this grid have deployed those brand new slick tyres to help push them through and maybe and hopefully get themselves into that final.
And get themselves, first of all, out of the danger zone, because this hasn't been the easiest of qualifying races for them yesterday. 3 races they had to go through, those competitors of the mini class, and for some of them, well, didn't go according to plan, and doing so, deciding to put on a fresher set of tires before the final. Well, it's in order to try to get yourself out of that trap, because 10 tickets won't be available coming to the final. 36 only accepted coming to the last and most important race of the weekend. Let's see what Priam Bruno can do. As we said, Cenik Babicek with his win gets the 10 points for the championship and the pole position, whatever happens for the final. But Priam Bruno has a good chance to take 9 points for the championship if he wins that race and gets himself on the front row of the grid.
Well, here we go then, round the final corner and into the tram line. Superheat 2 is green straight away, and it's a great start for Ludwig Granqvist. Look at him on the outside here, trying to get through. Not going to happen. George Clark in 2nd place, holds on to it down the inside here, but Granqvist round the outside is going to slot his way through and just holds on to 2nd place of this race. Bobrajov still there, Green, Nahil El Gahoudi, all battling, but Will Green, I think, has had a bit of a challenging start on that one because he's dropped down a handful of places as he tries to recover back to the front in this one. This is not the scenario that the championship leader wants. He wants to gain as many positions as he can. He does sit 7th in the intermediate classifications, but he's got that 20 points. A race win here would help him out, but it's not going to be enough. That one race has scuppered any chances here.
Yeah, definitely so for Will Green, who is in search of a redemption, certainly coming to the final. Now, what's important for him is certainly to secure that result. Try not to do anything unwise. Keep your head down as 1 lap is completed, and we might see a move coming up from Langvingst on Priam Bruno. Ludwig Granqvist, who stays behind in 2nd with the pressure of George Clark. Maxim Bobrajov still in P4 from El Gahoudi. Will Green down as around the inside. There goes George Clark on Granqvist. And Granqvist actually taking the lead in the meantime as well. So it all changed into turn number 4. We are on board with George Clark, the British driver, 3rd on the grid and currently 2nd, just behind Granqvist. Watch out on coming to the turn number 9. This is one of the best spots, one of those hot spots for overtaking. Not going for the bid just for now. Coming to the next one as well. A bit of a Lonato kind of shape in this last sector of Wackersdorf. But George Clark climbing through the ranks. It's going to put under intense pressure Ludwig Granqvist at the moment. Your new leader. Look at the slipstream coming into the trail. He's able to take at full speed into turn number 1, the right kick, a little bit of a curb, coming to the breaking point on the first hairpin of the track. The door is shut. Might be a little bit early to go for the attack. As long as he stays within the shadow of the leader, he might still have plenty of time coming to the end of the race to do so. As for the back, things keep on changing with Will Green on the inside, clipping the curb a little bit, trying to get ahead of Priam Bruno. Bruno is about to lose maybe another place, but hold on in the entry of the chicane. The 8:37 of El Gahoudi just behind, but El Gahoudi fighting as well for his own survival in this race. Round the inside he goes on the 8:31, and unfortunately that's George Clark, who at some point was able maybe to attack for the lead, but in the other way around is losing places.
Yeah, indeed, he lost out there to Maxim Bobajov. Live on board picture there with the live feed still on the right-hand side of your screen. You can see there the gap now that's opened up between himself and Will Green just ahead, who's up into P4. Now Green's piling on the pressure up ahead, and there's more pressure coming for George Clark right now as down the inside goes Harry Williams. Now he's wheel to wheel with Nahil El Gahoudi, who's trying to get his way past as well, but slams that door closed. El Gahoudi trying to defend off the likes of the drivers behind as well in the form of Bruno Grieling, his teammate, Alfie Davidson, who's up 9 places in this race. Alfie Davidson, who did deploy a brand new set of tyres on Wagon as he started this one, P18, to try and get through into that final later on. But there you can see another pass down the inside. Nahil El Gahoudi getting past George Clark, but still, this has been a superb weekend for George Clark. His pace this weekend has been really on it. A great change of pace for him and the Oracle Motorsport team, who have really shone this weekend. Through they go into the first sector of the track, in towards the flat-out turn number 1. And again, look at the commitment here down the inside.
There you go.
And George Clark nails it and gets through once again into P number 6. Well, the racing all kicking off, and Will Green again with that fastest lap of the race is starting to close in on the likes of Bruno Grieling. Now this one's interesting as well, because Bobachov has closed in on Granqvist. Now what does this mean for the intermediate classifications? If he gets past here, this will help him out. He'll get past Novella Morales, and he'll get past the likes of maybe Oliver Warner. No, he won't, but he'll move up to 5th in the intermediate classifications, and again, that means points, championship points, at the end of this race.
And that's going to be interesting to follow the progression between Priam Bruno and Louis Granqvist, because Granqvist from P2 is losing a little bit of points on Priam Bruno, because as leading the way, Priam Bruno getting ahead of Will Green under the pressure. I've said this too soon, unfortunately, because the British driver is making his way past on the Belgian. Well, that's no good news at all for Priam Bruno. He's going to need to take that position back, considering that Granqvist can still win that superheat. That would mean that if Granqvist wins and Priam Bruno stays where he is in P4, he might actually lose a start from the front row of the grid. Not the end of the world, though, starting from P3, considering that you find yourself just behind the pole sitter with the slipstream on the inside turn number 1 is certainly an interesting option, as Josh Clark is making another move on the inside of Harry Williams for P5 in turn number 9. Well done to him. But it's a bit of a dilemma. Shall I try to start on the front row? Shall I try to keep it to P3? That's still good, provide Priam Bruno with a good advantage coming to the first braking point. I would suggest that maybe he's going to try to push for that P2 on the grid. But Granqvist knows that he has to take the win, whatever happens, to try to get as close as possible to the Belgian.
Yep, certainly so. This is a really important one for Ludwig Granqvist. That Will Green again setting that fastest lap of the race, is breaking away from Priam Bruno in P4, and Green is on the charge here towards these top 2. The pace at the moment through sector 1 this time, though, both drivers ahead were faster than Will Green. So despite his best efforts of setting those fastest laps, the pace is just eking away. Sector 2 is better for Will Green. He is quicker than the 2 ahead in the middle sector of this lap, and the final sector as well. It's just a waiting game to see if he can close in. We're on lap 7. We're going now on to lap number 8 of this race. After 7 laps have been completed, you can see Bobajov there. He is hitting his head forward. He is pushing himself forward in this one. He wants this win. He wants those extra championship points for finishing in this position. But again, it's just going to be a tough fight to the end of this one, because he's got the pressure of Granqvist, who just wants to try and beat Priam Bruno to maybe start on that front row of the grid. but it's just going to be such a tight fight.
There might still be a bit of a chance for Priam Bruno to get himself on the front row, actually, and it comes down to qualifying performance, because if Grandkist, as it is right now, get ahead of Maxim Bobrashov, it would be on equal points to Priam Bruno staying in P4. So a little bit of a correction there. They would be on 10 points each, but Priam Bruno was qualified P3 overall in qualifying to P7 for Ludwig Grandkist. So that could make a difference for Priam Bruno to still finish second overall if he stays like that, as Grandkist certainly has other ideas in mind coming to the end of this qualifying heat number 2, chasing Maxim Bobrashov. Let's see if he's going to be able to make a move. Does he want to make the move, though? As we said, on this particular track, a P3 start on the grid is not such a bad position to be starting from.
He doesn't want to make the move just yet. He wants to stay behind it because he wants to open that gap up. He doesn't want anyone else interfering with this one. The only thing that's on Grandkist's mind right now is getting past Bobrashov. But if he starts battling now and making silly moves here and there, Green's going to close in, and crucially, Priam Bruno is going to close in, and he doesn't want that. He wants to keep the gaps nice and open, which is exactly what he's doing right now. If he's going to go for the move, it will be on the last lap, because here again, he says there, he's checking over the shoulder, he's saying, right, okay, what's the situation? Okay, they're still miles away. If he's going to go for it, it'll be on this lap. It is the final lap of this race, and it's Bobrashov, Grandkist, Green, and Priam Bruno currently in the top 4. Davidson is there in P5, who's gained 13 positions in this race. That is an absolutely superb achievement, and that might be enough to get Davidson into the final later on. We'll have to see what happens with that one, because again, only 36 go through out of the drivers who entered into this weekend, which was, I believe, above 40 drivers entered into this weekend for the Mini X30 category. So there are going to be eliminations at the end of this one, but the only question is who? Off the track, 2 drivers involved, and that, I believe, could be Daniel Ferguson and Alexandre Point off the track in this lap. Checker flag's going to come out. It is side by side, but it is Maxim Bobrashov who will take the win on track. Absolute superb performance from Bobrashov. Grandkist millimeters away from potentially starting on that front row, but the only thing they can come away with at the end of that one is that Grandkist will start right behind Zdeněk Babacek, and Babacek's on pole, so he will effectively get that jump at the start. Bobrashov, though, a superb performance. That win puts him P5 in the intermediate classification, and that will help him out in that championship fight as well.
Yeah, the job has been done brilliantly from Maxim Bobrashov. 1 point just behind Oliver Warner, who made it to a strong positions as well on the race before. Bobrashov, your winner, or just a tiny gap, those two working together. Ludwig Grandkist having to make do with second place. That's certainly the result he had in mind. If it wasn't for the victory, P2 was still very much up to his standards, considering that he will be P3 on the starting grid for the final. Will Green taking P3 from Priam Bruno. Still Priam inheriting second place on the front row of the starting grid for the final. Then we have in P5, Alfie Davidson, 13 places gain indeed for the British driver, in front of a sea of fellow countrymen. Colby Pattinson, P6 from Teddy J. Porter, George Clark, as well as Freddie Wood. And Harry Williams running up the top 10. 11th place for Nick Reed from Aurélien Lemaire, Bruno O'Grelling, Nahil El Gahoudi, Milo Cornel, P15 from Aidan Valer-Luque, Minji Kim, and Luca Portaro, unfortunately, who run into some trouble into the closing lap. And 2 drivers that we are not having any classification that went through a DNF, Alexandre Point and Daniel Ferguson.
Let's have a look at the highlights from that one. It was quite an interesting one for the front drivers. Priam Bruno starting this one on the front row, struggling a little bit, dropping down to P4 at the end of that one. Not the result he would have wanted, but still comes away with that front row start. Grandkist with a brilliant getaway. Look at Grandkist here at the start, not dropping back at all, keeping it so committed around the outside there at turn 1. George Clark holding it as well, but just watch it here as they go on board. Right round the outside there goes Grandkist, and just squeezes his way back into second place. That is a committed drive for someone who really, really wanted to start on the front row of the grid. That move down the inside as well, got the change. George Clark followed as well. And again, just a superb start for the field.
And a very nice looking gloves for him indeed. Hopefully we might see that again. As run inside 8:11 was making his way past as well. Maxime Bobrachov, your future winner of this Superheat number 2. 8:78 as well, making his bit around the inside. Priam Bruno, the pole sitter, would finish in P4 in the end of this race. He was battling all over. Once again, those cool looking racing gloves from George Clark, making his way past the 8:87. Was the battle on Harry Williams from Oliver Roland Motorsport. Harry Williams would round up the top 10 at the end of this race. Halfway through, another strong move around the inside from the 8:31 of George Clark, still fighting his way through to finish P8. And then that's the move decisive for what would be a final victory for Maxime Bobrachov, while George Clark was still making his way past on the 8:27 this time around. Harry Williams would finish 2 ranks behind him, and keeps on going through that same corner. And a little bit of a moment with Harry Williams actually for George Clark. Williams switching position, at least going the long way around into turn number 10. That was just before that little bump to conclude the lap, but George Clark was having none of it. Keeping fighting.
Awesome race control just now, post 4 just now.
Oh, wow. Well, we didn't see that for George Clark. That was Williams on the final lap going airborne there after a little bit of contact. Now, we did see this one here. This was the 2 retirements of Daniel Ferguson and Alexandre Points, unfortunately, at the end of that race. And 2 thumbs up for the top 2. Bobrachov and Granquist were fine and dry at the beginning of that one. But afterwards was like, oh, I couldn't get past. I tried on that final lap, but yeah, it wasn't going to happen. So, well, a very exciting end to the Superheats for Mini X30. That confirms then that Zdeněk Babicek will start on the front row with Priam Bruno alongside. Ludwig Granquist and Oliver Warner will round out row number 2 and those championship points as well. Junior X30 Superheat 1 is coming up next, and again, all the way throughout the Junior X30 running, it's been, well, a talking point between the top 2 in the championship, Harrison Mackie and Tyke Butley, who were nail-bitingly close in qualifying and the qualifying heats. Here is what happened over the course of yesterday. Saturday for Junior X30 was another exciting field of races. The first time we'd seen the juniors racing in pure action, and it was all about Harrison Mackie and Tyke Butley, the top 2 in the championship standings. Only 1 point separating them through the qualifying heats phase. That will have changed at the end of today. All the drivers having a fabulous day, but no more so than Zach Green, the young Briton, who was absolutely flying throughout the day. The same could be said for Nikita Nikashov as well, having fabulous races all the way throughout. Toby Gale also gaining positions in the early stages of the weekend, battling away, close racing across the start-finish line. It'd be later on in the weekend where we'd see the battles from Benjamin Manak really starting to heat up throughout it, but Didier Kreeft was down the inside at turn 1, and there was Benjamin Manak just losing out, unfortunately, in his racing. That would drop him down the field. Zach Green was really having to think in the latter half of the day because points meant prizes for him and the higher positions meant less points, which means even bigger prizes, as he was fighting fiercely at the front, going wheel to wheel with Harrison Mackie, who was in pure contact with throughout the entirety of the weekend. Having to deal with the likes of Tyke Butley as well was all of the drivers, but Tyke Butley was a driver who was certainly keeping on fine form. He finished 3rd overall at the end of the day, but it would be Zach Green top of the points and him starting on pole. And pole he will start for Superheat 1 for this one. You can see him there on the left-hand side of your screen, the driver of the number 68 Jamie Green racing kart, focusing, ready to get going. There he is on your screen. And yeah, really tense time for him again in this one because it's relatively close in the championship for Zach Green. He's currently sits P6 in the standings, but we caught up with him at the end of the racing yesterday.
Here with Zach Green. Zach, what a race. 2nd win in the qualifying heats for you, and the job well done because you're currently leading the classification of the qualifying heats, and that's pole position for the Superheat number 1 today, so congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a very tough race. didn't have a good start. But then luckily there was a crash, so I gained a few places from that. And then I caught up to the leader and overtook him. And then the gap was just big enough to sort of keep it the same until the end of the race. And then I just had to defend on the last lap to keep it first. Yeah.
Yeah, we all had a bit of a scare when some of the drivers in turn number 2 came together, and you actually escaped from that incident without any damage. But at the end of the race, as you said, a little bit more pressure. Maybe 1 or 2 laps more. That could have been a different story for you, you think?
Possibly. He was sort of catching me on the last lap, but in the middle I did sort of get the gap bigger. So I don't know, it could have gone either way.
This has been a very tight competition between all of you in the class. Now, with all the qualifying heats done, super heat tomorrow, the final, let's not think about this just too much, but what have you learned maybe that could make a difference tomorrow heading to the most important races? How can you make a difference against a stronger position?
Just don't go for anything silly, because I was close to the win at Franciacorta and then I over-defended the hairpin and that lost me the race in the final. So I've learned from that mistake, so I'll just take it from here really.
Fantastic. Even though we have a slightly different layout here in Wackersdorf compared to Franciacorta, a bit less fast, much tighter, and that gives you a different perspective in terms of driving, I guess.
Yeah, I quite like the track because it's quite technical, sort of like the tracks in England. So I think I'm quite used to them, and it suits me well. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you very much for talking to us. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Well, great there to chat to Zach Green at the end of that one, and reports just coming into the commentary box of spots of rain in the air. Now, there were moments of rain all the way around. You can see there on the radar there is a band of rain that's just to the north, and there is just some of it just clipping down towards us. I don't think it's going to make too much drama, but certainly it's going to put a little bit of fear and doubt into the driver's mind as they go into some of these corners. Right, let's quickly run through the starting lineup on this one very promptly. Zach Green, Ty Buckley on row 1 from Gale and Maniac on row 2. Then it's Elvis Kakauskis and Konstantin Titsia, who has deployed a brand new set of tyres. Senna Meunier and Matteo Mellis on row 4, ahead of Stitterena Maker and Aston Sharp on row 5. Then it's Alex Pinheiro and Niels Malik on row number 6.
Row 7, we'll see Louis Bazire and Bet Goetz, followed by Archie Owen, Katrina A. Then we have Rock Pinheira, Noah Nolken, Carolina Rebano de Blas, Daniel Oliver, Bruno Matrullo, Andrea Galimberti, and just Mulder. A total of 23 drivers, as Aston Sharp is one of the drivers with fresh boots. Rock Rademacher as well, are just on the left side. But one of those at the upper part of the grid, Constantin Titze, with all 4 new tires.
Here we go then into the tram lines. First time for Junior X30, and it's a lightning start for Zach Green, who holds on to the lead there. They're 3 wide going into turn 1. There is contact, little bits here and there, but everyone amazingly holds on to their carts on track. Running wide goes Ty Buckley as Toby Gale was down the inside, and he actually gets up into second place now. There's Constantina in the background. There's a cart off in the barrier, and it's over in the superheat phase for Alex Pinheira. He is out of this race. There was another driver in trouble there as well. I think Niels Malik was one of them, and Noah Nolkin, unfortunately. There is Alex Pinheira. He's going to try and get it out of the little gravel trap that he's stuck in there, but that is a shocker of a start for Junior X30 in Superheat 1. But crucially, right at the front, it's Zach Green and Toby Gale who lead the way now by quite some way.
Lap 1 completed, Zach Green in front of Ty Buckley. Then we have Toby Gale taking second place, Buckley down in third. And Benjamin Manak, Sharp, Senna, Meunier, Kitse, Louis Owen, and Krasowska ending up the top 10. The pressure is on Zach Green. When it comes to the classification overall, same system as for the minis. 1 point splitting Zach Green, your leader, and Harrison Mackie that we're going to see for the second super heat. So Zach Green is on a mission. He needs to win that one.
Here we go.
But Toby Gale is going to give him a hard time and gets ahead in turn number 1. The battle is on between the BMR chassis, the BMR team driver, shall I say, on the CRG chassis, and Zach Green from Jimmy Green Racing. Now, it's going to come down maybe to those two because the gap has been extended to almost a second, with Ty Buckley leading the second wagon in front of Aston Sharp with a fresher set of tires, don't forget, and Benjamin Manak running up the top 5.
Very close there. Sharp's going to dive it down the inside now. That'll be 7 places gained on his fellow teammate, Ty Buckley. Well, this is an interesting one. Maniac's going to go through as well. Now, these drivers have deployed fresh sets of tyres. Now, Sharp is one of them. Archie Owen as well as another one as well. Ben Gotts is one. Konstantin Tizia, as we were saying. But crucially, I want to talk about Jos Mulder, the driver who now sits just inside the top 10, has gained 14 positions in this race, and he is actually 10th in the championship standings. Now, again, he is fighting to get through into that final later on because he needs to score more championship points. He's in contention, really, to really gain some really good place in that one. Jos Mulder, there he is on your screen, currently P9. Really good gain of places in this race. But like you say, he has deployed that full set of brand new tyres. Gale leads the way then from Zach Green, and Aston Sharp, who started this one P10, a qualified 17th, is looking for a superheat win here, because look at this, right tucked in to the back of Zach Green, and is on an absolute charge here. Buckley's going defensive. He's got to go defensive there because he's got Konstantin Tizia, who's right there behind, who's also got brand new tyres on. No contest at all, straight down the inside.
It was beautifully made indeed, as 210s now split Toby Gale and Zach Green. Here come the leaders, and we can see certainly Aston Sharp preparing a move, but Zach Green will be the first one to try it and gets ahead in turn number 1. What a nice overtaking that was, and the door was open slightly, but it was enough for Aston Sharp to make his way past the Toby Gale, the BMR driver, going from first to third in 2 corners. So Zach Green is back where he started, P1 in front of Aston Sharp. Now, Zach Green, as we said, needs to win that race to try to secure pole position for the final. Now he still has 1 point ahead of Harrison Mackie, as Benjamin Manak and Zach Green now fighting their way through. The 97 is further back. This is Konstantin Titze. My apologies. As Titze is in a solid explanation with Benjamin Manak under the jump onto the last corner. 11, the never-ending straight right-hander coming to the straight. We might see another switch of position, certainly. Watch out, Aston Sharp, Zach Green, Toby Gale. Which one of those will try run the outside? Goes to Buckley, watch out. It's going to be squeezed just a tiny bit. Benjamin Manak in the middle as well. We're going to have ourselves a 6-driver battle pretty much, as Jos Mulder under investigation is pulling another fastest lap in the race and making his way through. He's currently in P7, having climbed 16th place, but certainly in this recovery, one of those moves was certainly deemed a little bit suspicious in terms of fair play.
Certainly so. Well, action on at the front here. We've got a large train of drivers, all focusing around the top 8. But Jos Mulder, like we were saying, in this battle right now, under investigation with a fresh set of tyres. Right now, Sharp leads the way. Green is there.
Report 27, report to the steward. Post 1, post 4, lap 1.
Well, confirmation there. Jos Mulder being reported to the stewards then after the race for an incident on the opening lap, turn 1. So, again, that race not over just yet. Green back to the front. Nice little change through turn number 1 while we were listening to that message. But Green now leading the way once more ahead of Sharp, Gale, Buckley, Magnac and Tizia. Now, well, Gale's in a position here, so is Aston Sharp, because Buckley, who is fighting for the championship right now, is behind Harrison Mackie by 1 championship point. This is really important because where's Tyke Buckley currently? 4th in the IC. If he can gain multiple positions in this one, he could give himself a better chance of leading the championship at the end of this one. If Mackie doesn't gain places, there's Sharp down the inside. That pushes Gale back into it. And is he helping his teammate out here by going defensive? Yes, he is, because Buckley is now on the attack here against Toby Gale as they look down the inside in towards turn number 3. It's not close enough for the attempt on this one right now. But again, as they go through the double apex, there are 4 and 5 as they now enter into the chicane. This is a really, really tight part of the circuit. Down the inside through turn 6, a big lunge. It's a big lunge from Gale. It's not going to work out. It stays behind Aston Sharp as they all try to close in now as they end lap number 8. It is all opening up a little bit at the back, though. Magnac, Konstantin Titze, Archie Owen, all starting to break away just a little bit right now as the front drivers really focus on their position. Sharp going defensive. Gale to the outside, Buckley to the inside, he gets through into P3, and every single position he gains here is important. He goes defensive again in towards turn 3 and holds on to it, and now Benjamin Manak has closed back in as well.
Oh, what an end of a race that's going to be between those three. Zach Green has been extending his gap up to 7/10 of a second in front of the rest of the pack, but now all comes down to that last lap run inside, goes to 23, Toby Gale takes the position back from Tide Buckley. Benjamin Manak might try to do the same, but Gale is opening the door. Manak on the inside, coming to the last turn. Despite it has to stay behind. He might want to try for the last lap as well, as we're getting near the conclusion of that Superheat number 2, lap number 10. Here we go. Zach Green, 7/10 still, as I've been told that there's some drops of rain still falling onto the track that won't make certainly the life of the drivers any easier, as Green is not watching over his shoulder. Sharp, as 3 drivers still battling their way through. The 114 of Owen, Just Mulder and Senna Meunier. All those 3 glued together, battling for what could be P7 at the end of this race. As we're back the leaders, they're trying actually to get close to the 3 of drivers just in front, Aston Sharp, Buckley and Toby Gale. Zach Green is out of the equation, pretty much on his way to potentially victory. And the door is shut in turn number 10 by the 97 of Konstantin Titze, who had a fresher set of tires for this race. Don't forget, he's been able to put that to good use, even though he would have preferred certainly a better result. The final lap, that is, as Zach Green is leading the way, as he should actually lead the overall classification at the end of this race, winning that Superheat number 1 point ahead of Harrison Mackie. Aston Sharp in second, 8/10 down. All he needs to do, Aston, is to try to stay ahead of Tide Buckley and Toby Gale as well. Benjamin Manak not far behind, but at this point it's pointless to try to get any close to Zach Green. Let the man win. 2 wins yesterday, and here's the update on the classification. Whatever Harrison Mackie does in the next race, even if he wins, he will stay still 1 point shy from Zach Green on his way to victory after a beautiful effort from the Jamie Green Racing driver. Victory for Zach Green, Aston Sharp second place, Tide Buckley third, taking 8 points in the championship. So provisionally speaking, before Harrison Mackie gets on track, we have a new leader in the overall classification of the IAME Euro Euro Series in Tide Buckley, getting ahead of Harrison Mackie before the British driver gets on track and takes points, hopefully for him, at the end of this upcoming race. But what a performance it has been. Zach Green, very solid, very mature into his driving, and has been able to really extend his gap and protect himself for any comeback from his pursuers.
Certainly so. Well, drama unfolding then in Junior X30. Green, pole position for the final later on today, and the 10 championship points. Harrison Mackie in the next race, where he's got the chance of starting this one on the front row of the grid, and he has still got the chance to outperform Tide Buckley. And of course, with that, he will gain more championship points and he will maintain his championship lead. There is a long way to go in that one. A look at the classifications there on your screen. Like we were saying, Just Mulder there, 17 positions gained. Archie Owen finishing in 7th place ahead of Konstantin Titze. Then it is Louis Branzouet finishing in 9th place ahead of Elvis Karakauskas. Senna Meunier from Carolina Redondo gaining 7 places ahead of Rock Pinheira's 4 places gained. Andrea Galamberti finishing in 14th at 8 places ahead of the rest. Then it was Daniel Oliver finishing in P15 after gaining 5 places. Bruno Matulio finishing in P16, also 5 places. And then it was the drivers who all fell down the order. Stig de Rademaker, Ben Gotts, Katrina E, Nilas Malik, Noah Nolkin, and then the 2 retirements, Matteo Melis and Alex Pinheira. And that's a tough time for those drivers who finished that one at the back, because all the drivers behind them had that fresher set of tyres. You know, I don't want to say it was expected, but it certainly made it more of a challenge for them. Let's have a look at the highlights from that one. And again, really crucial and good start there for Zach Green, utilising his races yesterday, the skills that he learnt on the circuit. P4 and 2 qualifying heat wins yesterday. Certainly going to be helping out his championship fight in this one after gaining those 10 championship points. The rest of the field, though, drama in the back here, and you can see straight, I think, complete passenger in that one, straight off the track there for Alex Pinheiro. He tried his best to get it restarted. Wasn't going to happen. The same happened for Matteo Melis there as well. So drama happening thick and fast. Gale, really impressive drive from Toby Gale in this one, really putting it to Zach Green. Eluded a win over the course of yesterday. 2 P5s and a P4 for Gale, but was really looking strong this morning, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was definitely, even though he would have preferred certainly to finish on top of the classification. Would have to make do with a P5 in the end, but fighting his way through all throughout the race. Benjamin Manak not particularly happy, was Ty Buckley, sorry, not particularly happy, under the close watch of Benjamin Manak and Toby Gale. That was a move from Zach Green around the inside of that turn number 1 into the braking point. And then we had a bit of a moment there with some of the drivers involved into the hairpin number 2, but the battle was really raging at the forefront of the classification, as Zach Green, Aston Sharp, Tate Buckley were very, very tight on gaps. On the inside, the 23, Toby Gale trying to get back into contention in front of Manak, Tate Buckley, and Buckley fighting his way through in turn number 9. The door was open. It was the first attempt on Benjamin Manak, but the Spaniard would have to back down just a tiny bit, coming to the end of the race. And in the end, Zach Green was uncatchable by Aston Sharp, putting the machine of Mick Barrett Racing up into second place, having climbed 8 positions in front of Ty Buckley and Benjamin Manak and Toby Gale. A couple of drivers indeed that we lost into this Superheat number 2, Alex Pinheiro and Matteo Melis, unfortunately. Well, we stay with the juniors, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to have the Superheat number 2 coming up in just a few moments. As we said before, Zach Green, with that 3rd victory, 2 in the qualifying races, 1 in the Superheat, well, secured overall pole position for coming to the final and the 10 points that come with it for the battle for the championship. Harrison Mackie still is very much one of the contenders for that final victory, competing with close gaps with Tate Buckley for the title this season. He will be the one starting from pole position, but whatever happens in this race, he needs to win it to secure that front spot on the grid of the final alongside Zach Green. Would he actually finish this race in 2nd, 3rd, or even more so? That would cost him certainly a lot, because in the rest of the classification we have Nikita Nikishov close on points, just 1 behind in 3rd place, as well as the likes of Didi Kreeft, not far behind, even though Didi Kreeft with 10 points missing, he would need a bit of a miracle to try to get close to Harrison Mackie, Nikita Nikishov, but we never know what could happen in those racing with a competition of that level. The gaps are very tight indeed, but Didi Kreeft will be starting from 3rd on the grid, 10 points shy from Harrison Mackie, 2nd in the classification. Here's the British driver from Fusion Motorsport. Whatever happens, he needs to win this one to be able to be on the front row of the final. We caught up with him yesterday at the end of his qualifying races.
Suit on. Harrison, tough race for you out there. I was doing mental calculations in my head thinking, oh, where does he need to be for this one? You're 2nd at the moment in the IC. Of course, there's another race to go. You could still start on pole. How are you feeling with that?
I think even if we just come our 2nd overall, it's still pole for one of the Superheat. So obviously we're going to keep fighting from here and hope for the best.
Yeah. Let's talk about this weekend. Of course, it's very close. The closest we've seen in the championship. 1 point separates you from yourself and Ty Buckley, who we just spoke to. That's going to make it a real nail-biter, isn't it, going into tomorrow, because so much is at play.
Yeah, obviously we're going against each other for the championship, but obviously we're going to do our best to do it obviously fair. Yeah. But obviously I'm here to win the championship, so that's what I'm going to do.
Do you prefer it being close, or would you rather it be nice and open, you were leading by 30 points and you could just take the last round off?
I'd love it to be like that, but obviously it's not at the moment, is it? So.
Yeah, you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to fight a little bit harder on that one. So, but it's going well this weekend. You've got some really good results behind your back. And like you say, you could start on pole for either one of those Superheats, but we'll just have to see how this last qualifying heat goes. Congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
Great to chat there to Harrison Mackie. Yes, confirmation yesterday, a win, 2nd and a 3rd in the qualifying heats phase meant that he was starting on pole position for Superheat 2. Nikita Nikishov, who has been eluded a win so far this weekend, is loving second place. Second place in all 3 qualifying heats, but I suspect will be a driver who wants to change that today. Sits third in the intermediate classifications. Now, like we were kind of alluding to on this one, Mackie, really good position here, wins this one, 0 points to his name. He starts on the front row, anything like that. Drops down a few positions like you were talking about, Guillaume, and then he starts to get into a danger zone. Maybe Nikita Nikishov can get the jump on him. Maybe Tyke Buckley can get the jump on him, and that would spell disaster for him, because if Buckley gets past him in the intermediate classifications, he gets more championship points than him, and then they would swap positions in the championship standings. There's only 1 point between the top 2. That's how close it is. And it's fantastic. I love it. A championship like this, so close in the penultimate round of a championship, it's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it is brilliant indeed. And we're going to keep a close watch on the race of Nikita Nikishov, who's going to be starting from the front row of the grid, because if he wins that one in front of Harrison Mackie, they will be on close points, on equal points, but still Harrison Mackie would finish P2 overall due to his qualifying performance.
Let's take you through the starting lineup for this one then. Harrison Mackie, your pole sitter from time qualifying and championship leader, starts this one right at the front. We'll have Nikita Nikishov alongside. Didier Krieft, who was second in time qualifying, will start behind with Federico Tardelli alongside on row 2. Angelina Simmons will have David Minchuna on row number 3 ahead of Moritz Moore, and Felipe Rice on row number 4. Quinten van Wellen and Jorn Helder round out row number 5 and the top 10. Then it's Emilio Byrne and the first of the drivers who have deployed a fresh set of tyres, Jakob Batchelor on row number 6.
Row number 7, we have Arthur Donker and Evan Purcell, followed by Riley Cranham, P3 in the championship, but only P15 on the grid with Nat Johnston by his side. Chi Yao-chen and Sarah Eifer sharing row number 9, followed by Yu Rana, Matteo Caruccio, and row 11, Roland Budd and Maxis Agner. 22 drivers onto the grid and onto the track as well into the information lab, while Maide Anthony is being attacked by bugs or mosquitoes in the commentary box, which is no good news.
It was a spider, actually.
A spider? Well,
yeah.
we do have all sorts of animals actually coming our way, trying to listen to us while we're working, but try to stay alive until the end of the day, will you?
Yeah, I say I've been eaten alive over the course of this weekend. I'm covered in bites all the time being in this commentary box. It's been rather not a pleasant experience
yeah,
a little bit.
That's good that we don't have a camera in, because you guys don't want to see that.
No,
Just joking aside.
Exactly. Right then, drivers getting themselves formed up, ready to go. This is a tense time now for Mackie. Really has to think about what he wants to do in this one. And, well, the main thing is, well, win it. That's what he wants to do. That's the main thing. But again, so does everyone else. And his main, I think, competition in this one is Nikita Nikishov, who is third in the IC and right next to him and has wanted a qualifying heat win all the way throughout. I think the best way to start that is maybe winning a superheat. Into the tram lines, we are green and racing, and it's a great start for Mackie. Didier Krieft holds on to second place as they go through, and it's Nikita Nikishov who has to settle for P3 into the braking zone of turn number 2. The rest of the field file their way through turn 2. They all get a good run there as Nikita Nikishov tries to send it down the inside, sideways under braking for Didier Krieft, who just holds on to second place.
Wow, that was a close start indeed, but everybody going through the first sector unhurt. Now, 11 laps to go through for the junior category around the inside. That was the first attempt from the 52 further back.
Svardelity.
Yeah, indeed. As Federico Svardelity, whose coach is the legendary Davide Fori with the Zenke Motorsport team, present this weekend, as he's been giving advice to the Italian driver to improve on his performance. Let's see if it will be paying off until the end of the weekend. Lap 1 completed. Harrison Mackie, Didier Krieft, Nikishov, Svardelity, Michuna, Angelina Simmons just behind. No one dares to move a muscle into turn number 2 just yet. Only one more. Batchelor race as for your top 10, coming to turn number 4. Driver information with the two fusions helping each other out. As Harrison Mackie, as we said, he needs that win in the bag to secure that front row start coming to the final. Nikita Nikishov, quick reminder about if he wins in front of Harrison Mackie today in this race, it will be on equal points, 6 each in the classification. But considering that Harrison Mackie was the pole sitter of the class and Nikita Nikishov only put in a P7 in the qualifying, well, the front row start will go still to Harrison Mackie. That's for the calculation at this point, as there's still the threat of Tyke Buckley getting past both of them in case of a bad result. As Nikishov takes P2 in the inside of turn number 1. The door was widely open. Didier Krief, there was nothing that the Dutchman could have done. Oh, and the 52 of Sbartolati being squeezed and pushed a little bit out of the way. He's going to drop momentum as Krief is fighting back in front of Minchuna, the 64, wasn't it? As those two are really close together coming to the chicane.
Yep, they certainly are. The Mole Racing driver of Darren Minchuna certainly doing well in this race, up a couple of positions. The same as Quinten van der Wellen for the PDB Racing team is up 3 places. All the way down the field as well. More people making moves. Now, the biggest one for me in this one, Riley Cranham, 3rd in the championship, currently is making his way through the field. We're on board with Angelina Simmons, the Spaniard for the MDC Racing team, who currently sits in P9, is down 4 spots at the moment, so not been the best getaway, but you can see she is fighting fiercely right now. As well, we were just talking about him, Riley Cranham, just there, has not deployed fresh set of tyres. He's saving those for the final. Oh, and there's been a moment here as well. That is the Mole Racing driver of Darren Minchuna, and it is Sbartolati who's gone off as well. Sbartolati off the track. The Italian for Zanchi Motorsport is off as well. The two colliding at turn number 3. And, well, that is a huge, huge moment. There is Minchuna walking away from the car. Where is Federico Sbartolati? I don't think, has he retired or is he still going?
Suit on.
Let's have a look
Harrison,
potentially at what could happen in that one. Minchuna, where is he? He's off the track. But Sbartolati as well. This is drama. Drama on lap number 3. Here is, I think, what happened. Right, okay, so down the inside, goes to the move. Right, okay, it's a late move. Oh, that's a big, big hit there. A big, big hit. I think Sbartolati was able to keep going. Yes, I think. Yeah, you can see on the grass there. But for our man, Darren Minchuna, out of that race.
Yeah, we thought for a moment that maybe the Falcon driver from PDB, Quinten van Leeuwen, could have had something to do with that. He was trying to launch an attack. It was slightly further back, but around the outside was going the Italian. And unfortunately, those two coming together, there was a ballsy attempt to overtake, and it didn't go according to plan, unfortunately. Back with Angelina Simmons-Torres as she's getting closer and closer to Evan Purcell. That's a battle for P8. In front of Purcell, we do have Riley Cranham. All of the drivers climbing through places, as Purcell was 14 on the grid, 8 currently with a fresh set of tires. As Randy Issa, Purcell's going to try to make his bid. The door is open, and Angelina Simmons-Torres very smartly follows him through. And that's 1 pace gained for Simmons-Torres. Cranham getting 2 positions lost in the process. We'll get back to that as Evan Purcell is being investigated. We just saw him losing position, is down to P9. Angelina Simmons-Torres getting ahead of really Cranham as well, so she's currently in P7. Then we have Jacob Bachelor, Quinten van Leeuwen just in front of them. Here the number 62 on camera as Nikita Nikishov and Didier Krief battling for 2nd place. Harrison Mackie trying to get his gap going, trying to extend his gap and position. 0.6 of a second currently in front of Nikishov and Didier Krief. In this position, Nikita Nikishov certainly not happy about this because he's 3 points clear from Harrison Mackie, but from P3. So he needs to get ahead of Mackie once again if he wants to be able to win that one. Won't be enough though to secure that 2nd spot on the grid. So Mackie in a comfortable seat at the moment, extending this gap and praying for Didier Krief to get ahead of Nikishov, or at least give him a hard time.
Certainly so. Well, back onto the start-finish line we go. On to lap number 8 now. Mackie still leads the way by 0.6 of a second. This is the battle for 2nd place on your screens right now. Nikita Nikishov and Didier Krief. And Krief down the inside. Moves back past Nikishov and moves up into 2nd place. Now, this allows Jorn Helder to close in. The other Fusion Motorsport driver, who's currently now in P4. 6 places gained.
And that's a good news for the championship leader, Tide Buckley, because with this move in the classification, Tide Buckley moves up to P3. That means on the inside of the 2nd row of the grid coming to the final. We're not there yet, Nikishov is on equal points, but didn't qualify as good as Ty Buckley. So that means he's in P4 as it stands. Here's your confirmation on the right side, as Nikishov is very much clear from Didier Kreeft, even though Kreeft stays in front of him as it is for now. This won't change anything. For Didier Kreeft, still a little bit of places and points collected, but he's nowhere near Nikita Nikishov in terms of points.
But it does benefit Ty Buckley just a little bit, because again, it means they will go into that final still only 1 point separated, because they both move up a point there. So again, it's just that, that interesting phase between these drivers. There's nothing that Mackie and Buckley can do right now to break that toe, unless maybe something, fireworks in the final maybe, who knows, in the Junior X30 category. But right here, it's all going Mackie's way. The gaps come down a little bit to Didier Kreeft. He has closed in just a fraction. What will it be when they next cross the line? Watch it there on the graphic. It's 5/10. Oh, it comes down, but minutely. So it's not going to close in enough here, especially with the likes of this happening. Nikita Nikishov down the inside, wheel to wheel there, and Kreeft goes down. He doesn't even lose one, he loses two, as his fellow teammate and countryman Jorn Helder gets through as well. Now, Evan Pasil's got the fastest lap of the race. He is closing in on this battle as well. He's currently P7, but is also under investigation, is the number 87. So remember that one. The same can be said for Sarah Effert as well for MDC Racing. She is also under investigation. Big send down the inside there. And Nikita Nikishov trying his best to keep ahead of this one. But this is going to be a really tough fight here.
Yeah, beautiful piece of fighting between the three. And Lucas coming back. Bachelor, the number 69, Jacob Bachelor from MDL Motorsport. He sees the opportunity to maybe take not one, not two, but three positions at once, going the long way around, switching the line in need, and takes two places at once. So the Fusion Motorsport drivers have been caught by surprise beautifully by Jan Bachelor. So Kreeft and Helder find themselves 4th and 5th. And Helder is going to keep on going. Nikishov might be his next spray into the chicane. Nikishov has to hold on to that second place. That's important in terms of classification coming to the final. He has 1 point advantage on Ty Buckley. Losing that place means he will be not 3, but 4 onto the grid. As on the outside, watch out for John Helder. He's going to try to give him a hard time as well. They're going to be side by side pretty much coming to the last turn. As in the meantime, Harrison Mackie crossing the line in first with miles away from the rest of the field, and second place goes to Nikita Nikishov in the end.
No, it doesn't, because a warning flag on that last lap for Nikita Nikishov, and that will be an in-race 5-second time penalty for the driver of the number 62, and that will tumble him down the order. Well, another 5 seconds on top of that. 8.4 seconds he will have. He will tumble to about P12 on circuit. That's all provisional, of course. Don't take any word from me like as signed in stone, but provisional, of course. But Mackie takes the win, secures the front row, and crucially holds on to his championship lead still by, again, still just 1 point from Ty Buckley.
What a race it has been. As for now, the provisional classification going to the way of Harrison Mackie. As for now, Zach Green is our overall leader and pole sitter for the final. Harrison Mackie second to the classification and on the front row of the final this afternoon of the junior category, taking place at 2 o'clock local time. Second place on track for Nikita Nikishov from Jacob Bachelor. John Helder in P4, climbing 6 places from Evan Purcell, 9 positions gained up to P5. From Didier Kreeft, Quinten van Leeuwen. We have as well Riley Cranham in P8, followed by Angelina Simons-Torres, Arthur de Donker P10. Then the rest of the field, Emilio Bernd, Maxi Egner, Moritz Moore, Ji Yaoshen, Naj Johnston, Felipe Reis, Matteo Peruccio, Jung Rana, Sarah Seifer, and Julian Bubb, and 2 drivers that we lost through the process of that race, and David Minciuna and Federico Sbardellati coming together, unfortunately, a couple of laps ago. The Italian having to retire just after the driver from Mole Racing.
Let's have a look at the highlights from that one then. Mackie doing exactly what he needed. Not too much stress for him in that race. Seemed calm and collected, pushing his way forward. Did have to deal with the likes of Nikita Nikishov at some points, but Didier Kreeft certainly being the ultimate teammate and rear gunner there, kind of helping back off any attack there Well, a great start for Angelina Simmons initially. You can see there that little clip of the curve, though, just unsettling the kart just that little bit. And I think there was slightly assisted at the exit of turn number 2, was having to deal with the likes of that huge train of drivers behind. Race continuing at this point on the opening lap. We had some drivers just getting squeezed out wide there. Dramatic moment for Premium Karting's Zhao Zhen from China, just running wide at the exit of turn number 10. There is Nikita Nikiforov going through. That allowed the likes of Sardelity and the likes of David Minciuna to break through. And they were having a really good battle there. You can see them again, forceful but fierce. And again, a little bit of fairness out there as well. It was when it came to this moment into this corner, not on this lap, that's where all the fireworks have come through. Didier Krief would fight back and would start to close in on the likes of the rest of the drivers behind. Sardelity back down the inside would allow, again, the force of this one here. This is the moment. Down the inside, the door closes, and a dramatic moment here. A nice little recovery spin there, but I think just the damage too much, and I think a track rod broken. And as you can see, yeah, the steering wheel's facing forward, but that front right tyre is facing to the right, so it wasn't going to go anywhere further. That was retirements from Minciuna and Sardelity. Race continuing on, and, well, Nikita Nikiforov on that last lap getting that warning flag. Now, is it for that moment there that we just saw? It was a move down the inside, a little bit of contact between the two of them. I don't know what it was for. But yeah, right on that last lap of the race. That, I think, is the biggest dramatic moment of that race.
And there's been plenty of dramatic moments certainly into that superheat. It's only the appetizer before the big plate coming this afternoon and the final. But Nikita Nikiforov resisting from the return of Jacob Bachelot, as Bachelot was giving a hard time. As on the outside, John Helder was trying to go the smart way, and it didn't happen, as Nikiforov, while resisting, was able to get himself ahead. Stays where he was, and Jacob Bachelot will still have the upper hand on John Helder despite this attempt on the outside of the penultimate corner.
Well, 3.4 seconds clear up the road was Harrison Mackie. He's done exactly what he needed to hold on to his championship lead in the Junior X30 category. But it will be Zach Green starting on pole for that final. Stay tuned for that one later on. Senior X30 is coming up next, and oh my, was that a feisty end to the day yesterday in the Senior X30 category. We will see a little bit more of that later on. But let's take a look about what happened in the full day yesterday with the highlights. Senior X30's qualifying heat on Saturday was an action-packed adventure field of racing. Danny Carinini, the outright pole sitter, coming away with some relatively decent results, but not ending the day on top, finishing in P4. Vilma Svan was a driver to keep an eye on all the way throughout the day, really having some good results and actually ending the day on top at the end of it. David Dragan, also another driver who gained 2 wins over the course of the day, as well as this man, Eloy Gonzalez, who took 4 out of the 5 wins, but just 1 P19 finish throughout the weekend meant that he was nowhere near the top. Elia Weiss was another driver who dominated in some of the forms, taking some wins, and of course with those P3s as well, dominant with the P3 finishes. Vilma Svan, though, was the driver in the talking point and in the crosshairs of so many drivers, including the likes of Finn McLaughlin and Danny Carinini at the early stages of the Saturday. Certainly the pressure was starting to build. Ruben Moya was another driver contending with the likes of Elo Gonzalez, all trying to find his way through with the likes of Kyuho Lee as well, both of them squeezing their way through, but Biasati finding his way past as well. Then the end of the day, and the most drama all the way throughout, the front row start, Moya versus McLaughlin, but the battle of who could get past who, but Moya denying the chance of getting through, McLaughlin denied the chance of starting on pole. Well, there you can see the story that somewhat unfolded over the course of yesterday. We will talk a little bit more about that later on today. Look at the rain radar, and, well, there's pockets of rain all around. Oh, God, look at that. It's teasing us. It's surrounding us a little bit. I did get a notification on my phone a moment ago through the interweb that said that the rain was possibly coming within the next few hours, but that was for Wackersdorf, and that's the town of Wackersdorf, which just sits not far away from where we are currently, but yeah, it depends on how big the cloud is. Hopefully not too big. Right, field, getting himself ready, and this driver here, Vilma Svan for Sweden, Pole position at the end of the qualifying heats phase. We caught up with him at the end of the day. Brilliant day for racing for you. That's exactly what you need to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was perfect day. Just a P5 in the other heat. Yeah, so it's been really good.
Yeah. Let's talk about tomorrow. Obviously, a challenge is ahead of you. There's still 2 more races to go, so we don't know where you're going to be at the moment. You could be Superheat 1 pole, you could be Superheat 2 pole. We just don't know. Are you ready for both options, or what one are you hoping to be in?
Hopefully A, but Superheat B is still good. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, well done, and we'll see what we can do tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, confirmation there. Did prefer to be in the front one, but pole for Superheat 2 is still a very good achievement. And yeah, like you can say, starting this one in a really strong spot. Elia Weiss starting alongside as well. Now, Weiss has been a driver that I think a lot of them need to be worried about. The Simon team have certainly provided a really good package here this weekend for Elia Weiss and for the rest of the field as well. Right, okay, let's take you through the starting lineup then. Vilmos Svan and Elia Weiss go from row 1 ahead of Velo Gonzalez and Kuo Lee on row 2. Johan Aluja ahead of Kevin Latinga go from row 3. They've got Joseph Smith and Annie Rattel on row 4. Paul Chaus and Riccardo Ferrari go from row 5. They round out the top 10. Ferrari third in the championship. Luca Bertoni and Maxime Blanchemont, they round out row number 6. Marcos Luzio starts this one on the 7th row with Mickey Blaskos alongside. Qualified 38th and is your championship leader. They'll have Max Hetzel and Krug Nielsen starting on row number 8. Raymer Blanc and Leonardo Lagoni running up row number 9. And then it's Colin Bertenberger and Peter Stiller on row number 10.
Row number 11, we have Hugo Besson and Manuel Wagner, followed by Louis Johnson-Cole and Suleiman Zanfari. Milan Marzak and Louis Comin, row 13, from Miguel de Silva, Rocco Curcio, Adrian Piervano, Delano Willems, Niklas Hirsch, Luna Clary, as well as Nando Waxenbaum, Nicolas Schmick, Max Oceanbrink and Louis Esser. 36 drivers onto this grid, a fully packed grid of contenders here in the senior category. As you can see, the wind has been picking up here in Wackersdorf. Is the main tower of those beautiful facilities of the Pro Kart Raceland in the south of Bavaria. We're about 2 hours, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours down the road from the beautiful city of Munich. And what a very nice region that is. Temperatures up to 22 degrees. That's about 10 less than we had yesterday. So still very interesting and good weather conditions. It might certainly have a bit of rain coming this afternoon. We'll see about that. It's always very much a possibility here in Wackersdorf. But for now, very much a dry race, dry conditions, as beautiful clouds and a lot of sun above our heads as well for the first of the 2 Superheat for the senior class. After that, those 2 races will have the consolation race for all the drivers who didn't make it through the first 72 places. We had more than 110 drivers competing in the class coming to this weekend, so not everybody can actually get to compete in those final races, and certainly not in the final this afternoon, where only the best 36 get to be in. Vilmos Svan, a driver who didn't have the best of first 2 rounds, but really came to the fore this weekend. Kenny maybe confirm his pace so far by winning the Superheat number 1.
Well, let's find out here. There's hands up in the middle of the field. They're not happy, but the lights go green nonetheless, and it's a great start for Svan. Keep an eye on Elia Weiss on the outside. There's a little bit of chopping and changing there as everyone tries to hold on to position. Johan Aluja trying to hold on there. It's all kicked off in the background, though, as carnage unfolds at turn number 2. I think there's a handful of drivers out there, and yeah, there is. There was about 4 carts involved. But who were they? We'll try and find out. I think one of them may have been Luca Bertoni in the 243. It was Luca Bertoni out of this race. That's absolute disaster for him. The same can be said for Luna Claret out of this race, and for Nicholas Simek there in the Pantano kart out of this race.
And we lose as well. Kevin Lantinga seems to be running into a bit of trouble. Actually, going to wait until the conclusion of that opening lap as they come across our position. Is still, it was a transponder issue by the look of it. Yes, but still very much leaders. Kevin Lantinga, but dropping 3 places down to 9 as the switch for the lead. Ayla Gonzalez, Coco Gonzalez, as is called within the team of Birla Racing, taking the lead from Vilmos Svan. Then we have Aluja and Keo Lee from AGP Motorsport just behind in 4th place. To a very close livery. Pantano and OGP, 2 different teams though. as we have Joseph Smith, the record holder of Wackersdorf since this weekend, with the victory lane machine done in P5. Andy Rattel, one of the teammates of Keole, trying around the inside, one of the teammates of the Pantano driver, shall I say, as we're going to get back to that in a minute. 6th place for Andy Rattel, as we saw a move beautifully made by it was Keole on Juanaluja.
Here we go.
Van down in 4th place.
Yep, nice move there through turn number 1 as well. That's going to allow the likes of Joseph Smith to get through. Also, you can see Smith there in the victory lane car going wheel to wheel with Rattel, who goes back down the inside there. It's all kicking off a little bit here now as they all try to find their way through. Juanaluja really trying to hold on to that position right now, but Rattel, with that fastest lap of the race, is really pushing these two drivers into each other a little bit right now, having to deal with them. Goes a little bit wider into the entrance of turn number 9, trying to get the switch back here. Doesn't work out, just collects that rear bumper of Joseph Smith as they go through. But all of them staying in position, but Smith now down another one. Look further down the field, look at some of the big movers out there. Louis Comin is up 12 places in that race. He's there in P14 at the moment. Now, update on tyres. No one has done anything with tyres on this one. A lot of these senior drivers deployed their fresh sets yesterday. They only get 2 sets for the qualifying heats. They do get another set for the final. So I think that's why a lot of these drivers have just held back from anything like that. But if they had a spare set of tyres to use for this one, I'd have deployed them. I think we might see some more in that second qualifying heat. There you're just seeing fastest lap being set by Riccardo Ferrari, currently in P7, as Rattel moving past Aluja, gets up into P4. Nice change there. There is Rattel just behind. And then the rest of the train coming through, where you can see Elia Weiss, who's not had a good getaway on this one, has dropped to P8, and that is a big shot. That would be a worse result for Elia Weiss. And, well, that is a huge heart-in-mouth moment there.
That was for Maxime Blanchemin from Victory Lane, actually, the Frenchman. All the way down to P22, 10 places that he lost, and that might have been one of the reasons why.
Yeah, Louis Esser also 16 places gaining this one. He's up into P20. Of course, this is the first time we've seen a grid of 36. So many drivers entering into this weekend in the senior category, about 111 in total. But that all gets whittled down to just the 72 that race in these 2 superheats, and then it all gets cut down to just 36 for that final. So many drivers will get eliminated as a nice big send down the inside there for Kyo Lee, getting into the lead of this race. That is exactly what the driver from South Korea would like, because really pushing himself forward in the IC as well.
And that's the first time that we get to see Kyo Lee leading the pack, if I'm not mistaken, this weekend. Kyo Lee, and correction to myself, he took a win on the Friday, the South Korean driver. So it's been a while since we haven't seen him leading the classification in the senior category. As for the back as well, watch out for Elio Gonzalez, going to try to give him a hard time to Kevin Lantinga. We do seem to have a bit of a transponder problem, because Lantinga is currently not leading the classification. It was down to P9 at some point, so it's going to correct itself in just a moment. Your current leader is very much Kyo Lee. Then we have Vilmos Van down up into P2. Oh, and the 410, unfortunately, running into some trouble. Let's try to see who that is into that pack. That's Rocco Curcio from Valle Motorsport, unfortunately. And the 301 as well, having to step out. Louis Comin, that's such a shame for the Frenchman. I do wonder if those 2 incidents were related or not. We'll get to see what happened. But Louis Comin from Diamond Racing, as he was competing this weekend in partnership with the Johan Renault Racing team. In the meantime, Vilmos Van taking the lead back on the inside of turn number 4. Beautifully made, as Elio Gonzalez was keen on taking the positions back. We have the yellow flag outside of the double left-hander of 5 and 6. Was certainly for the DNF of Louis Comin. But in the meantime, the battle is raging for the lead of this Superheat 1 in the senior class. Vilmos Van has taken the positions back. Watch out for Andy Rattel diving through the inside of Kyo Lee, the South Korean, who went very fast from P1 to P4. As Vilmos Van is your new leader from Elio Gonzalez. Andy Rattel in P3, Lee down in 4. And we have confirmation of the retirement for another driver, 230, unfortunately, that we've lost.
That's Johan Aluja, unfortunately, who was fighting right at the sharp end of the order and is now out of this one. drama unfolding then as the front runners, where he was battling with a few moments ago, now drive past him. Gonzalez leads the way ahead of Vilmos Svan. Rattel, Kyo Lee right there with Joseph Smith in tow. Here comes Rattel down the inside, gets past Vilmos Svan and moves up into second place in this one. That is exactly what Rattel needed, but Gonzalez is breaking away now at this point, and in the senior category it's a lot different than what you would see in the juniors and the seniors, in the minis, sorry, is that you can still break away even on your own in the senior category. So Gonzalez right now looking very strong, and especially with moves like this happening, he'll break away even more. Vilmos Svan back down the inside at turn number 2. On lap number 9, Rattel's going to immediately re-attack, and all the meanwhile, first overtake after second, after third, after fourth, the gap just increases more and more, and you can see it opening up now to nearly a second between Rattel now and Gonzalez. Still no change to the back as down the inside goes Kyo Lee. Now Vilmos Svan's on the real back foot here as Smith gets through as well. Vilmos Svan down to P5.
What a race that is, as we still have the final between those two couple of drivers into the afternoon. But as it stands, with the P1 in the hands for Vilmos Svan, as he's further back in P5, so no corrections. As Elo Gonzalez putting himself in the lead, he's currently P5 in the classification with 19 points. He will stay with that amount, but Elia Weiss, who was coming to this race in P3, is dropping momentum and a lot of points as well. So P11 for Elia Weiss, certainly not the race he had been expecting, the scenario he had been expecting coming to this one, as the gap has been extended indeed. 9/10 of a second between Gonzalez and Rattel. 1.4 behind is Kyo Lee. The 252 on picture. Joseph Smith battling with Vilmos Svan. Svan needs to get back into pace. He still has at least 2 drivers within reach as we're about to conclude lap number 10 out of 14. The time is running out, certainly, to try to make a difference in this Superheat number 1, as Elo Gonzalez has been absolutely on point all throughout the weekend. The driver of the Pirelli Racing Spain, as despite P19 in one of his races, he managed to win all of his qualifying races, so 5 wins out of 6, and is about to make it 6 victories certainly at the end of this one.
And so there we were seeing another one of the drivers retiring from the race there. But still, Elo Gonzalez leading the way, gap over a second, and now sets the fastest lap of the race. If there was ever a good time to set a fastest lap of the race, it's while you're at the front and you've already got a nice gap. It's opened that gap up even more now, like you say, over a second. Rattel still there in second place, has broken away from the likes of Kyo Lee. So first and second are clear now, and so is Kyo Lee just a little bit now. Vilmos Svan still battling away. Now look who's closing in on all of this. It's Marcus Luzio, current championship leader. Well, it's a little bit too late now for Luzio, because again, yeah, it's climbing up the order. He'll make sure that he gets into that final. That's the most important thing that he needs at this point, so that's perfect. But in terms of getting any points for the intermediate classifications and the qualifying heats phase and the superheat phase, no, I don't think he's going to get anything for that, because he's right down in the order. He doesn't sit anywhere high up in it at the moment, does he, Guillaume?
No, only P6 won't be synonymous of a lot of points indeed. Considering indeed where he's classified himself as Marcos Luzio. And let's have a look.
Is number 249, overtake after line 249.
Right, very interesting there. So timekeeping, spotting that one. They, of course, can see the order that they should cross the line. If anyone overtakes, they get a little notification saying, no, he was out of position. So you look at the replay, you can see definite overtake there. Right, back with this one here, and well, it's all kicking off a little bit more now, because Luzio's down the inside and he's battling away for P5, and he gets through. Nicely done there on Joseph Smith, and he's up into P5. Now Vilmos Svan just ahead. Kyo Lee is closing in as well, as they all try to battle away for these positions. Keep an eye on Riccardo Ferrari as well. He's on his own, just behind in P7. But if this still kicks off between these drivers, he could very quickly close in. Tucking in goes Kyo Lee as we go on to the final lap of this race. He's going to try and hold on to Vilmos Svan, but I think Svan's going to send it down the inside at turn 2 and does so. This helps out Lucio massively.
Yeah, beautiful overtaking indeed. Ezran inside is going to try to respond. Kjoli not quite able to do so. But Vilmos Svan back in the lead. Watch out, like in second place, shall I say, behind Elo Gonzalez, 1 second clear of the rest of the pack. Gonzalez on his way to what will be victory number 6 out of 7 races, including that Superheat since Friday. A beautiful run of performances for the Pirela driver. Oh, Kjoli trying to get a little bit of a click on the curve, on the inside line, protecting his position because Svan and for the back as well, other drivers, including Marcus Lucio and Joseph Smith are trying to get back as well. But the race is finished ahead with the victory for Elo Gonzalez. Andy Rattel taking second place. And we have 3.3 seconds down. Vilmos Svan P3 from Kjoli. Marcus Lucio was coming back very fast at him, but he's going to have to make do with P5. In front of Joseph Smith, Paul Cheos, Ricardo Ferrari, Alan Weiss. Disastrous race, certainly not up to his standards for the driver who was starting at the forefront of the grid. And it was coming to this race. P3 in the classification is going to drop certainly a couple of places as well. And Blaskos running up the top 10. But Elo Gonzalez with this win, he was a little bit further back. P5 in the classification. Stay where he is at P19 with Elia Weiss in P4. Elia Weiss a little bit further back, sorry, P9, as he's going to drop all the way down with 16 points. Plus those P9 25, so not a good news at all for the overall classification and the starting position for Elia Weiss into the final.
No, indeed, that was a real shake-up there in that one. Not the race that a handful of drivers will have wanted. Well, all of them make their way back into Parc Ferme. Obviously, all the results that you see on your screen are provisional, of course, ending any scrutineering or, of course, post-race penalties. Right now, for the rest of the field, it's exactly what they needed. Great results then for the field, as all of them now have to wait and see what happens in qualifying, or Superheat 2 for Senior X30. Elo Gonzalez taking the win, though, will be happy with that result. Will help out his intermediate classification fight. And of course, his championship fight as well. Doesn't sit anywhere within the top 10 in the championship, but certainly this has been a good weekend for him. Let's have a look at the highlights from this one. Obviously, we've seen at the start of this one driver out of formation, overtaking before the start line, and will be receiving, I suspect, quite a hefty penalty at the beginning of that one. Initially, though, good start, though, at the front of the field. Vilmos Svan breaking away well. Elia Weiss was the biggest storyteller in that one. Like you were saying, dropping down to P9, not getting the start there. You can see already getting swamped by the whole of that inside line going in towards turn 2, Guillaume. Just not the start they wanted.
Yeah, definitely not. And this would be certainly the start of a very, very difficult race, as a couple of drivers at the background of your picture got involved in a big coming together into turn number 2. We lost a couple of them actually through the process of that race, including the 243 of Luca Bettoni, Luna Claire as well involved into that opening lap crash, as well as Knut Nielsen. One of the Pantanos indeed had to step down. It was Luna Claire indeed. Quite unfortunate turn of event before race even started. Then run inside the attack from Elo Gonzalez. That will be the decisive move, putting the Spaniard in the lead. And from that point on, it would not be caught, leading the other drivers fighting their way through. And at some point building a gap up to almost a second from Andy Rattel, who would finish in second place, having fought his way through against the likes of Vilmos Svan, Kjoli and Marcus Lucio in the end of the race. The big news indeed from this Superheat number 1 is that Vilmos Svan, who was coming to this event as the leader, provisional leader of the classification with 11 points, is now down in 14, which means that he has lost currently the top spot of the classification, going to Fionn McCaughlin. We'll get to see starting from pole in the race coming just after. But Kjoli still fighting his way through on lap number 5, shutting that door on the way to the last corner. But it was enough though for Elo Gonzalez to try at least to take the position back. Kjoli that we had not seen in the lead for quite a while. One win in his qualifying races on the Friday, and then back as the leader for a brief moment. Louis Comin, unfortunately, having to step down from his cart. There was a moment where Vilmos Van was back into the leadership position, but the door was opened for Eloy Gonzalez. Beautiful move, as you can see, to spin it on the left side, getting ahead of Kyo Lei, with Andy Rattel as well, making his way past the South Korean driver for P3.
Later, more retirements there. Joanna Luja, the surprise retirement out of that race, was fighting right at the sharp end of the order, not able to hold on to it again. Vilmos Van battling away at the front of this one. Rattel trying to get through. All the meanwhile, they were allowing Eloy Gonzalez to break away, and not one overtake happened, but 2 overtakes, and then 3 overtakes, and then 4 overtakes, all for second place. And, well, that just allowed, like we're saying, Gonzalez to break away from the rest of the field. It also allowed Marcus Luzio to close in, current championship leader, who has not had the best weekend here, really needed some good results. Just the pace wasn't there so far, but really coming back in that superheat, I think, is definitely going to make the final. We'll just have to see what happens there. But over the line, it would be Eloy Gonzalez who would take the win, exactly what Gonzalez needed, really helping him out and really pushing himself forward, because he took 5 qualifying heat wins out of the 6 yesterday. But with that P19 finish, that really scuppered him in the order. Superheat 2 is coming up next for Senior X30. This will determine who will start where, but it also means, well, are we going to get some fireworks in this one? Because we've got second in the championship, Danny Carinini starting this one on the front row, but Finn McLaughlin, who starts this one on pole position. Now, McLaughlin had the chance of starting on pole position for Superheat 1 yesterday. That was denied by the driver who starts this one on the second row of the grid, Ruben Moya. Austin Gale also starting on the second row as well, has had a really good weekend for Austin Gale. Back on a CRG chassis, prefers that one over the rest, and has been really pushing himself forward over the course of this weekend. David Dragan and Alex Machado as well on that third row of the grid is really going to be an interesting fight. Pole sitter over the course of some of the qualifying heats, Sem van der Heijden, starts this one on the fifth row of the grid. Some of the results he had, not the best.
Not the best indeed for the driver from Cork Promotion, as he pulled off still 2 P4 and 2 P6 through the run of his qualifying races, but a P12 and a DNF earlier on didn't go according to plan. That's the reason he found himself all the way down to P10th on the grid of that superheat number 2, as he's going to be alongside Christian Biazzati on position number 9. So at this point, with the not so good results, certainly not up to his standards from Vilmos Van, only P3 in the superheat just before. That means that he lost the current leading position from the classification. He's down to 14 points, 13 for Fionn McLaughlin, the pole sitter of that superheat, which means that if it stays like that, if Fionn is able to take the win out of the superheat, and once all the classifications are made official, well, the VDK driver could find himself sitting on pole position coming to the final this afternoon. Still very much in theory. We'll see about any other moves coming from further back down the classification. Some drivers close on points, as the likes of Danny Carinini is not far behind, 17 points, currently sitting in P4. Those classifications have been slightly involving after the result of the superheat number 1. But Danny Carinini with a victory, second and a third as best results in his qualifying races, sitting second in the championship as we speak, in a close battle for the win in this year's series with Marcus Luzio. And it's fair to say that so far Danny Carinini and the Zanki Motorsport have been having the upper hand against Luzio and the rest of the field. The drivers making their way onto the track. Here's a look at the grid. Pole position for this one for Fionn McLaughlin, Danny Carinini by his side, Austin Gale and Ruben Moya on row number 2, Alex Machado and David Dragan row number 3, followed by Enki Kalteren and Hugo Erwin, Christian Biazzati and Sem van der Heijden row number 5, row number 6, Matteo Zanchi and Carl Clark, row number 7, Otto Pikkonen and Phil Strange. Then we have Adam Rahali and Marius Barberg on row number 8, row number 9, we'll see Mathis Barbe and Engvink Jr. Then we have Luca Auton, row number 10, and Philip Jensen by his side just before row 11.
Row number 12 sees George Nassar and Morgan Knudsen. Then it's Fred Green and Torben Grundal on row 13. His nickname, the German guy. Then it's Alexander Rutter with Clovis Nougarade on row 14. Then it's Annabelle Bryan and Clement Outron on row 15. Robbie Buckley and Hamza Al-Fayez round out row 16 ahead of Luke Taylor and Natalia Granada on row 17. Then it's Angelo Mello and Christian Vigani who round out the 36-car field in this race. Drivers making their way out onto the circuits, getting everything set up ready for this race. And a look at potentially what is going to be happening. And it looks like no one has used any tyres. So everyone has no one's deployed them. I think everyone has just saved them for later on, but of course they do get that brand new set for the final anyway. So action is starting to get a little bit interesting here for the drivers. And for Finn McLaughlin, this is going to be an important one here right now. Ruben Moyer as well in this one is starting just behind him. We saw everything that happened yesterday. We're on board with David Dragan. Dragan, who's been a really impressive driver over the course of this weekend. 3 qualifying heat wins. Did have a 31st place after a retirement. But yes, no problems for him. He's had some really strong runnings in this one. Drivers make their way through the red line. Flags go down. Nicely done. And the grid gets ready to go for this one. This is a momentous moment then. We're going to be finding out who's going to be starting where for that final later on today. McLaughlin and Carinini on the front row of this grid as the lights go green. We are racing down in towards turn number 1. It's a good start for McLaughlin, holding on to the lead of this one. Austin Gale on the inside there, just getting squeezed. Now it's 3 wide as they go through turn number 2. He was the meat in a cart sandwich there, was Gale, but amazingly he's still in this race. Moya down the inside goes wheel to wheel with Carinini trying to get past, but Carinini slams the door closed and denies Moya the chance of getting past.
And interestingly enough, it was the outside line of the grid that was the fastest coming to turn number 1 and 2, with both Carinini and Ruben Moya getting ahead of Austin Gale. Pierre McLaughlin, though, was having none of it and kept his position alive on pole. Still P1 at the end of this opening lap. Some of the drivers trying to find better racing now. The 241 is well in a bit of tussles further back. Gonna have a close look at the gaps as they come across. As Ruben Moya finds himself in P2, chasing Fionn McLaughlin with Danny Carinini just behind. Alex Machado, Hugo Erwan on in P5. Austin Gale all the way down from P3 to P6. From Sam van der Eyden, Dragan Calteren and Christian Pizzati has already the move for the lead. Ruben Moya, a little bit of a squeeze. Danny Carinini is furious on Alex Machado, and you saw his gesture from the Italian. Machado went for the dive, as so did Ruben Moya, so double change in the same corner. Ruben Moya is leading on lap number 2. Machado is getting ahead of Danny Carinini, and the Italian certainly didn't see that coming. We would say certainly afterwards that the move was a little bit aggressive, but that's part of racing. Don't see anything wrong with that. Machado up into P3. Hugo Erwan, who is on charge for redemption after a couple of difficult qualifying races yesterday for Hugo Erwan. So we'll see what the Alonso car driver will be able to do into that Superheat number 2. Remember, this will be the last one of the Superheats of the morning. We're going to have the Consolation race just after this one. As we get on board, David Dragan from Zenki Motorsport, who is starting P6, P9 currently, trying to chase Enki Calteren. David Dragan, who is being coached by the famous, legendary Davide Forre from Zenki Motorsport. Second driver being coached by Forre this weekend, as he's trying to make his bid around the inside. Enki Calteren does get ahead of the driver, Sam van der Eyden, but Dragan is going to have to wait a little bit more.
Well, at this point of the race, we'll look at the points. But again, look at that huge send down the inside through turn 11 for David Dragan. Absolutely committed there through the corner. And that's a really tricky place to get an overtake done. Right, back here at the front, Moya from McLaughlin. Machado there in 3rd place. Again, no one deploying fresh tyres in this one. I believe everyone has used their tyres in this one. A look at the classification in the point standings. Now, no one can beat Vilma Svan. With that result earlier on, Vilma Svan stays in the lead and will start on pole and will have the 10 championship points. McLaughlin right now in P2 is in a good spot still. Is still up into 2nd place with 15 points. Is ahead of Elo Gonzalez, despite Gonzalez's win earlier on. This result here for McLaughlin will still help him out and push him up in the order. There you can see it on your screens. Danny Carinini currently 4th. He is up. And any more positions he can gain will help him out here to start on the inside of row number 1, right behind Vilmosman for the final later on. But again, that's going to be a tough one here. Machado down the inside will change the order once again and will move up into 2nd place. Hugo Ron got past Danny Carinini just in the background as well. So just as McLaughlin loses one, Carinini loses one as well. Gale sets the fastest lap of the race. He's currently in P6. And the next one to go for the attack on Danny Carinini, which just in the background there, he does get done. So Austin Gale now up into P5.
And that's not good news for Fionn McLaughlin, as he has 2 points to try to climb. That means 2 positions if he wants to start the final from pole position. As currently Vilmos Van, who made it to P3 in the Superheat just before, is back in the provisional lead. It all comes down to Fionn McLaughlin being able to catch up with Machado and try to get ahead of Ruben Moya, which will be no easy task at all. As we're going to keep a close watch on the battle for the lead, as for the battle between those 3, Hugo Orewan, Austin Gale, Danny Carinini. As some of those drivers for the back, Enki Kalteren, got a bit of a chat with the Dutch driver from RSD in the paddock, telling me that he hasn't been able to find the right setup and early during the weekend. A track, Enki Kalteren, he hasn't been competing here that much. He didn't know the track that well. Only got here during the middle of the week to get some practice, but there wasn't much practice sessions for Enki Kalteren. So that's why he had to find his space through the races and improve step by step. The pace has been certainly on the rise for Enki Kalteren. Has run inside. That's the first move for Fionn McLaughlin on a charge to maybe grab pole position for the final this afternoon. 1 position up. The Irish driver with the fastest lap in the race. Get ahead of Alex Machado from TB Card. Let's see what the driver from Romania will be able to do. He's getting still very close, staying within the shadow of Fionn McLaughlin to try to give him the position back. And in the meantime, those 2 needs to work together just a tiny bit if I were there, because a half of a second is already the gap built by Ruben Moya in the meantime, as we're about to get past halfway through this Superheat number 2. Ruben Moya is leading the way. Fionn McLaughlin, as they come across top, 0.4 of a second. Nothing is done yet into the Superheat. Nothing is done yet. Machado staying firmly but calmly behind Fionn McLaughlin as for now. Those 2 trying to get close. That's going to give us a 3-driver battle of the best kind, as Austin Gale, Erwa and Carinini still running in close formation just behind.
Daniel Ginchard now setting the fastest lap of the race. 50.270, currently sits in 11th place after gaining 11 positions in this race. Again, the British driver who has not been part of the IAME Euro Series, but certainly has been having a strong performance here this weekend. Not right at the sharp end, but right there, I think, where he needs to be. But we'll keep an eye on the progress of the young driver. Right, Moya leads the way still. McLaughlin has closed in. Cast your mind back, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching the broadcast. Yesterday, we've seen these 2 going wheel to wheel, and McLaughlin gets it done through turn 2. Doesn't waste any time, but Moya's going to fight back instantly, but the door is slammed closed by McLaughlin, and Machado is back into play now. 1, 2, 3 for the race lead, and with that position change, McLaughlin now leads the intermediate classifications. Now Machado goes through, and Machado gets up into 2nd place. That will not benefit Ruben Moya at all, because Moya now drops to 8th in the intermediate classifications. That will drop him down even more now. So McLaughlin now leads the intermediate classifications, and he is looking to start on pole for the final. He is looking forward to taking those 10 championship points, but there is still laps to go in this race, and Machado is right there with Moya in tow.
Yeah, it's going to be very tense coming to the checkered flag in a few laps. Let's see that again, shall we? That's radio as well from the race control.
Can I have a warning 225 post 9, 225 warning flag post 9, and the change of the leaders was clean, no further action.
Well, there we go. So a warning flag for 225, and that has just come out on the screen a few moments ago. So that was a big moment there in that race. The change to the lead was fine, no drama there. But for the rest of them, that is just not what they wanted to see at all. This was Moya down the inside of Machado earlier on, and he gets back up into second place. And again, I think they're just going to say, right, okay, let's work together. Let's see if we can close up to McLaughlin, because that would be interesting if they could. Because, well, the gap's 0.4 of a second. We've just seen McLaughlin able to do it. Can Moya return the favour? That is the ultimate question. But time is very quickly running out. The drivers behind are all very quick as well. Gale there. Buchanan's just set the fastest lap of the race as well. He's currently 14th. He's got Grundal just there in 13th place as well. Marius Barryberg in 12th. And they've got Dan Ginchard. So that mid-pack group there, 11, 12, 15 and all of that, they're rapid at the moment. They're going really quick through the field. That could have consequences for some of the other drivers out there. Gap down to 0.3 of a second. Moya's digging deep here as he tries to close in. Machado is providing a little bit of a toe and a bump draft, potentially, but is not at the moment attacking Moya.
He might actually want to wait until the last lap. Machado going around inside. There he goes with a move. It did happen. Beautifully made with the support of some of his mechanics and teammates as well from the side. We do have his co-team manager, Eli Goldstein, close to our position as well. The former winner of the IAME Euro Series. Now at the head of the TB card, supporting his driver. And he's doing a mega job at the moment. Alex Machado pushing Ruben Moya back into P3. But despite it, has still some resources and skills to try to switch those positions again. And those two actually see Austin Gale getting closer and closer by the lap. Hugo Merouin lost a bit of momentum as well, but he's still very much in P5. Lap number 13. We're getting very near to the conclusion of that Superheat number 2. 0.6 of a second, while Machado and Moya were having a strong explanation. Well, Fionn McLaughlin has hardly been expecting to double the gap. Now with 0.6. Will it be enough for the VDK driver to see it through to the checkered flag and take pole position and the championship points? We're getting near the conclusion and some certainly answers to that question for Fionn McLaughlin, as it was an interesting battle as well further back between Austin Gale and Danny Caronini, because they are currently on equal points, 23 each, at the advantage of Caronini sitting in P6. He has still 0.3 of a second advantage on Enki Calteren, so actually Danny Caronini, the championship leader, second to the championship, sorry, but the pole sitter of this event, needs to stay where he is and not to let Enki Calteren get ahead. Calteren losing places to Biazatin Clark, as I say that. But if he stays P6 Caronini, he will be ahead of Gale from P4 on the grid of the final.
Dragan having a fantastic battle here with Enki Calteren just in front as they go through. Absolute wheel-to-wheel battle happening here for P9. Cal Clark is just ahead of them, but he's in no worry as we are on the final lap of this race. McLaughlin, who leads the way right now. Yesterday was a dramatic and tense end to the day where where he thought it all fell apart for him, but it didn't. McLaughlin right now is back on the top spot, leads the intermediate classifications, and will take the 10 championship points and pole position for that final later on today. It is the Irishman, Finn McLaughlin, right where he wants to be, ahead of Vilma Svan and Eloy Gonzalez in the intermediate classifications. Danny Caronini will start P4 for the final later on today, ahead of Austin Gale and Elia Weiss. Remember that Danny Caronini is in a championship fight with Marcus Luzio. Luzio's not had the best weekend, and Danny Caronini starts P4. That is the ultimate test. The championship lead will change at the end of today. But Finn McLaughlin right now is looking to see if he can come away with a final win at the end of the round here in Germany. It's McLaughlin from Machado, Moya from Gale, Caronini from Heron, Biasati from Clark, Dragan finishing ahead of Eiki Calteren, Dan Ginchard finishing in P11 ahead of Marius Barryberg. Then it's Serban Grondal in 13th place ahead of Otto Pukkanen and Adam Rahali. Luca Horton from Phil Strenger, aka Phil Collins. Matteo Zanchi ahead of Romeo Russell. Fred Green from Clement Autran. Hamza Alfayez from Sam van der Heijden. Philip Svensson from Mathis Barb. Then it's George Nassar from Vuk. Then from the rest of the field as well. Just behind it was Angelo Mele and Robbie Buckley. Morgan Knudsen from Annabelle Bren. Alexander Ruta from Luke Taylor. Christian Fagani, Clovis Nugarade, and Natalia Granada, all 30 karts who started the race, finished the race. No retirements at all in that one. Here's a look at the highlights. And again, keep an eye on Austin Gale right in the middle of a kart sandwich there. David Dragan just trying to get his nose down the inside, not able to do so. And again, does so here. There's Sam van der Heijden just ahead now. Van der Heijden wouldn't have the best race in that one. He dipped down all the way to 23rd place, Guillaume.
Yeah, definitely not the race he had been expecting. Unfortunately, 23rd place, 13 positions lost for Sam van der Heijden, which weekend has been a bit up and down. That was the first move from Ruben Moya, taking the lead from Phil McLaughlin, as Machado getting around the inside of Danny Caronini, to the dislike very much of the Italian driver, as we were riding on board with David Dragan further back in a strong battle with Sam van der Heijden that would get ahead of in the last turn, just after Enki Kalteren did so as well. The Dutchman was coming close to get ahead of Danny Caronini, but it was the other way around. On lap number 5, at some point we thought that things were gonna get very difficult for Phil McLaughlin, getting passed by Alex Machado, as Cathal Clark was getting ahead as well of David Dragan. He would stay ahead of the Romanian, finishing both P8 and P9. Then the charge back on lap number 7 out of 14 for Phil McLaughlin, ahead of Machado, and then making the move on the same turn on Ruben Moya. The sprinter was trying to counter-attack, but the door was shut, and Machado would give him a hard time, starting by his move very clean in turn number 9 to take back P2. A quick look over the shoulder for Ruben Moya, who would actually give the positions again, switch the positions in the same corner for P2. But it would not be over between those two drivers, as the TB card representative would give the final move and have the final say into that battle. As so did David Grana against Enki Kalteren. David Dragan would end up finishing P9, Kalteren in P10, thanks to that move in the last lap and last corner for the Zenki Motorsport driver. In the end, it would win with half of a second on Alex Machado and Ruben Moya. Phil McLaughlin did the job, and for just one tiny point is handing his qualifying races and Superheat on top of the provisional classification. So that's 10 points for the championship for Phil McLaughlin, who came to Wackersdorf sitting in P4 in the overall classification with his best results that he took in Franciacorta, with a P4 finish in the final. And he looks on course to maybe do even better than that. And why not going for a podium or a final victory finish? It remains to be seen. This will be for this afternoon's final for the senior class that will actually conclude today's program at 2:30 local time. Before we get going for the rest of the program after a short break for lunchtime, we still have one more race to go this morning with the Consolation race, ladies and gentlemen, for all the drivers who, unfortunately for them, didn't make the cut within the top 72. Remember that we had 108 drivers competing this weekend in the X30 senior category, but only 72 make it through the 2 Superheats, and half of that, 36, for this afternoon's final. But at RGMMC, that's something we've been liking to do for the past few seasons. I'll get this right, is to provide one last race for those whose weekend didn't go according to plan. The Consolation race with the grid as the drivers make their way back onto the track.
Let's take you through the starting lineup for this one then. Surprise entry into this one. Keane Geraghty, who's been a very dominant force in the championship so far this season, not having the run this weekend. Unfortunately, starting this one on pole position, we'll have Maximano da Silva alongside. Lucas Orchica and Marlon Vatter go from row 2, with Yannick Renmard and Connor Grant on row 3, another driver who is usually in the sharp end. Mathieu van der Broek and Marco Pizler go from row 4. Then it's Marc Granada and Wesley de Goy on row 5. Hawk White and Yuri van Durenvoorde go from row 6, with Alessandro Biggie and Matthias van der Kerkhoff on row 7. Lutz Oschenbrink and Eric Vest go from row 8, with Karl Luthard and Louis Schutzer on row number 9. Then it's Max Carlsen and Keanu Wellens running at the top 20 on row 10.
Row 11 will see Bertram Sach and Marcel Matijevic, followed by Victor Kulmala and Andan Panzwick on row 12, as you just saw Martin Bean, our resurrector. Then we have row 13, Louis Turmas and Mathieu Bouvanier, followed by Emiliano Van Overberg and Freddy Housley. Row 15, Mathis Marschout and Karl Schmiller. Juan Pablo Girard and Luc Nauber on row 16. Then at the back end of the grid, we do have Lewis Bird, Tommaso Curione, Dylan Patel, and Loris Sach, a couple of drivers from the Falcon Racing team, whose weekend really went from bad to worse, and hence their presence here for the Consolation race.
There is a handful of drivers that haven't taken to the track, understandably. Some drivers not wanting to head out onto the circuit. One of those is, or would have been, the pole sitter, Kian Gerety, also Mark Renardo, Wesley de Goy, Juro van der Durenvoorde, not out on track. Either is Luthart or Carlson, Velin, Sash, also Kumala, and some more as well. Lights go green and we are racing. One car not getting away well there in the background, but crucially right at the front here, it is a good start for Maximano da Silva, who holds on to that race lead as I think his teammates just sent it down the inside there, and it's all kicking off a little bit there. And I think that's Connor Grant taking the lead of this race. No, it is not. It's Maximano da Silva still there. More carts happening, more carnage happening at turn number 3. I think a couple of carts involved. Yellow flags are out, and some drivers have not come through.
And we actually do have a lot of drivers missing onto that grid.
Yep.
As we get confirmation on the Apex Timing, live timing, as the partner of the IAME X30 Euro Series. This is a link available on IAMEEuroseries.com as always. Yeah, it's always a bit of a dilemma. Shall I actually stay on the grid to have that last race of the weekend, even though certainly not the position that any of the drivers wanted to find themselves in at the beginning of that weekend. So it's not unusual to see some of them deciding, you know what, I've had enough of this. Just that last race doesn't mean anything for me. I'd better pack up and go home and come back stronger. And that's the case for quite a lot of them, because we do only have 22 drivers onto the grid instead of 36 that were supposed to line themselves up. So I have to say that for the past few years we've been doing this. That might be the biggest amount of drivers not taking part into this Consolation race that I have seen. That happens. That's part of the game, and we can hardly blame the drivers not present for this last one, not willing to have that one last race, considering that they had other ambitions certainly coming to this event, and they will be back stronger certainly in game for the home of champions. In the meantime, Maximiliano Radek da Silva is leading the way, 3/10 of a second on Luca Orsica. Conor Grant, Matthias van der Kerkhoff climbing 10 positions up to P10 in front of Yannick Remmert, Alessandro Biggi, Auko White, Louis Schultz, Eric Weiss, and Eden Spanswick climbing 14 places up to P10, and 16 places gained for Emiliano van Noverberg.
Well, the race goes on this one. Maximiliano da Silva, I should say, still there in the lead. Horchika now up into second place. Grant, though, is going to be piling on the pressure. Now, this is Van der Kerkhoff going through. Now, well, Matthias Van der Kerkhoff was a driver who really did impress us at one point of the weekend. His first race was a P6, and it then just from that point fell apart, and he was thinking he was going to have a really good weekend here. Ended up with so many retirements, unfortunately, just getting caught out in little incidents here and there, and never went his way. It was a really, really tough day for him yesterday, wasn't it, for Van der Kerkhoff, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely. Even though the couple of times that we've seen him in the paddock, the smiles were still on the face of the Belgian driver. So that's the spirit that we like to see, even though your weekend can really, really go in the wrong way around. And it was certainly the case for Matthias van der Kerkhoff and his Car Republic machine of Victory Lane. The attitude was still very much positive, and I'm sure that he will come back with better intentions and certainly a bit more luck going his way. Because luck is also part of this business, isn't it? Motorsport is about skills, it's about technical aspects as well. It's about driving with your heart, with your head as well, the foot down the throttle. But a bit of luck is also very much welcomed. As one inside goes one of the Victory Lane. That's the switch for second position. And Van der Kerkhoff actually doing his bit on Luca Orsica and taking second place just behind his teammate Maximiliano Radek da Silva. So that's a 1-2 for Victory Lane, as we have Conor Grant and Alessandro Biggi following through as well in 4th and 5th. So 4 drivers from Victory Lane in the top 5, with Luca Orsica from Jepa Racing from Belgium, the team from Belgium, the driver from Czech Republic, within the top 5. So that's a lot of Victory Lane drivers into that same race. I'm not too sure what Nico Martins, the team manager, might think of that. Well, there's sometimes those weekends where things don't go really according to the plans that you had in mind. But Victory Lane, one of the new additions to the international karting scene for the past 2 seasons, competing in the FI Karting Championships as well. As we're going to see another move for the lead. Beautifully made now as his teammates switch positions. Now we have Van der Kerkhoven, who finds himself for the first time in the lead of the race, as Luca Orsica is fighting his way through as well and takes second place back.
Yes, he does indeed. Moves up back past into P2. Nicely controlled through there, and that fabulously liveried Gepper racing cart as they go through. But again, another change down the inside, says Connor Grant, and he moves back up in front of Luca Orsica, who moves back down into third place. Radek still there in the 291. Mateusz van der Kerkhoff, though, who leads the way. Well, he's had a brilliant race. Well, he started this one P14. Don't forget, though, he did have the benefits of so many karts not starting the race. He's gained 14, but I suspect he's probably only overtaken maybe about 6 karts on track. But still a very, very strong performance for him. And breaking away, look at that gap now. 0.7 of a second there for Van der Kerkhoff. Really opening up a nice, comfortable lead here. There, though, Connor Grant still doing his best efforts to try catch up to his fellow teammate. Orsica still there in third place. De Silva in fourth. Alessandro Biggie is there in P number 5, so he's having a good little run on this one. He's closing in. He's got the close company of Hawk White, Yannick Remmart as well, Lewis Suchta, who's up 10 places into P8, Eden Spanswick, who's out there in 9th place, and Eric Vess, who's rounding out the top 10. Emilio Van Overberg also 16 places gained. He's in P11, something I thought I'd never say.
Definitely so, but anything can happen still, even in the very last race of what has been a difficult weekend, that's for sure. But looking down at some of the results of Mateusz van der Kerkhoven, our leader in this race, such a shame that he had to go through 3 difficult finishes with a P7, a P27, a P32 and 2 P30. So that's 4 races into the bin out of the 6 qualifying races that he had between Friday and Saturday. And considering that he picked up a P6 and a P8 in the other 2, the pace was very much there for Mateusz van der Kerkhoven, but luck certainly not. And on the course of redemption, he's doing exactly what he needs to do, leading, dominating, shall I say, this consolation race with another fastest lap in the race, as he's just extending this gap to a full second on Conor Grant, with Maximiliano Radek da Silva still down in P3, having to resist from the return of Luca Orsica. And we have Biggie just down in P5. Hawk White still 6th place from Yannick Remmer and then Spanswick. And let's have a look back at
oh, wow.
driver complaining to Martin Bean, our race director.
Well, we've had 2 retirements in this one. One of them, Martin Vatter, and the other one, Tommaso Corione for M2 Racing. Now, not sure which one of those
Corione.
2 was it. Corione, right? Okay, so he's complaining there, and maybe it is with Marlon Vatter, because they both went out 3 laps ago.
Yeah, and 340 confirmation of Marlon Vatter, the other driver involved in that incident, and we might need to see that again. But certainly Corione wasn't happy at all, as you can see this is just on the outside of turn number 1. And Corione found himself on the other side of the track, so yeah, it might have something to do with what happened there. As Mateusz van der Kerkhoven, for the fun of it, for the sake of it, just pulling fastest lap after fastest lap into this race, is having no opposition at all into this consolation last round of the weekend for them. 1.3 seconds now, 50.2. That's 0.3 of a second faster than Conor Grant, currently in 2nd place, with the pressure of not 1, not 2, but 3 drivers just behind. Radek da Silva, Orsica, and Alessandro Biggie. Still all those 3 with certainly a will to grab a better position, to grab one of the last crops of the pie. As we enter lap number 11 out of 14. Don't forget that after that we'll take a short lunch break, ladies and gentlemen, but we will be back for some more exciting racing in the afternoon. 3 races down left on the schedule. The 3 most important, the finals, starting with the Mini at 1:30, the Juniors at 2 o'clock, and 2:30, the Senior category. And don't forget that the podium ceremony will be broadcasted live as always, and will start at 3:15 local time.
Well, there you can see the mechanics looking on there, drivers going past. So no hand signals going out just yet. I suspect when the field gets past, they're all hands are blazing, going, quick, go, get past, overtake, do this. But right now, all is focused. We're on lap 11 of 14 right now, and it is still Van der Kerkhoff who leads from Conor Grant and Maximano da Silva. 3 victory lanes, 1, 2, 3. Gepper Racing's Lucas Orchica still there in P4. Alessandro Biggie just behind as well. Hawk White rounding out the top 6. Spanswick there in 7th. Renmark from Schütze, Vess and Van Overberg. Pissler still there in 12th place from Oceanbrink. Patel from Schmitteler in 15th place. Freddie Housley from Marcel Matijevic. And Bougavier, who's just been passed on that last lap from Van der Broek, who's got through into 18th place. And Juan Pablo Girard, who still rounds out the rest of the field at the moment. On to lap number 13. We're nearing the end of this race. And of course, for these drivers, this will be their kind of like highlight of the weekend. You know, they've had these, well, yeah, not great results, bad things here, breakdowns here, maybe not having or getting caught out in an incident here or there. It's nice to just have this last race, let off some steam. You've got tyres, you've got fuel, the kart's here, everyone's here. Let's go for one last hack of the racetrack. And that's exactly what this Consolation race is all about. And, you know, for Van der Kerkhoff, he had that P6 earlier on. He's now looking at a race win here. He's breaking away from the rest of the field. He's 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. And that's kind of a show, really, of how quick he was in time qualifying and how quick the pace was. It's just every single one of his races just didn't go his way. We're on to the final lap. Van der Kerkhoff is clear. Eyes are on this battle at this moment. And Grant's going to go defensive. De Silva to the outside, not able to get past. Horchika's right there in the background, trying to look for where he can go. Grant again defensive. Horchika now getting the switchback, goes wheel to wheel with De Silva around the outside here. That is the boldest move we've seen this weekend, and it just didn't pay off there for the driver from the Czech Republic. He stays there in P4. Now he's under pressure from De Silva down the inside. De Silva gets through on that final lap. Could it be a 1, 2, 3 for victory lane here as they go wheel to wheel? De Silva goes defensive, but here across the line, it will be Matthias van der Kerkhoff, who was plagued with drama all the way throughout the weekend. He can end the day on a high here, taking the race win in the Consolation race by nearly 3 full seconds from the rest of the field. And 3 of his teammates out there, Conor Grant and Maximano da Silva, finish in 2nd and 3rd place. Luca Horchika finishes in 4th place ahead of Alessandro Biggie. Hawk White finishes in P6 ahead of Eden Spanswick. Yannick Renmart and Louis Schütze finishing in P9 ahead of Eric Vess. Marco Pissler finishing in 11th place. And Emilio Van Overberg finishing in P12, his best result of the weekend after gaining 15 fantastic places in that race. Dylan Patel finishing in 13th place after gaining 22 from Lutz Oschenbrink's 1 place gained in 14th place. Then it's Freddie Housley from Marcel Matijevic in 16th place. Matteo Bergogneau finishing in 17th place ahead of Karl Schmitterer in 18th. Matteo van der Broek in 19th ahead of Juan Pablo Girard, and the 2 retirements, Marlon Vatta and Tommaso Curioni, rounding out the 22 finishers in that race. Well, drivers will make their way back to Parc Ferme. Guillaume, this race, a lot of drivers not taking part of it, understandably. Only 22 races starting that one, but clearly a great getaway at the front, and a nice result there for the Victory Lane karting team. Yeah,
certainly not the race they had been expecting to finish 1, 2, or 3. But that's part of motorsport. Karting can be cruel sometimes. But the good thing is that they had fun, and they came home with a strong result for the French team. And it has been well thought through, despite the resistance from Luca Arsica, who would finish in P4. And switching of positions between the likes of Matthias van der Kerkhoff, Conor Grant, Maximiliano Arca da Silva. We have even Alessandro Biggie, who came close to make it the top 4 finish for the same team. But Arsica showing some great resistance from P3 just before the teammates will switch positions, as this is the move of Conor Grant taking P2 from Orsica, as we had a bit of a complaint from Tommaso Corrione, the Italian driver, getting together with Marlon Kveiter. Those two only retirements, 22 drivers, 20 at the checkered flag. And in the final lap, the final move from Conor Grant and also Maximiliano Radek da Silva to make it a 1-2-3 for victory lane, karting the team of the Martins brother at the end of the weekend here in Wackersdorf. That will be it for the morning, ladies and gentlemen, but not at all for the day. Here's the rest of the schedule and what we can expect for this afternoon. 1:30 mini final, 2 o'clock the juniors, 2:30 the seniors, and the podium at 3:15. We'll be back live at 1:15, so 15 minutes before the start of the first final. We will be live, and as always, on Facebook, YouTube, and Motorsport TV. Don't forget that on YouTube, we're gonna switch off this first stream to start another one already available to you on the YouTube channel of the IAME Euro Series. So this one will come to an end for the lunch break. We'll start another one 15 minutes before the start of the first of the 3 finals. So make sure to be with us for the last 3 races. We had 40 races behind, a lot of exciting action on track, my dear Anthony. But the last 3 races, the biggest part of the weekend for only the best 36 drivers into each class.
Exactly that. We look forward to it. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few moments' time for finals of round 3 and the penultimate round of the IAME Euro Series in 2024.
It makes life a lot easier out the track, so you don't have to worry about school and on-track performance and grades and all that sort of stuff.
The school understands exactly what I'm doing. They understand, how important it is for me, and the schedule that they, created for me is really well balanced, and I really enjoy it.
It's a very fine balance between his sporting career and also his studies. He doesn't have to compromise on either. I'm very happy that Minerva supported us through this journey.
The communication is great, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think MVA would help a lot of other races. A lot of people come into the track and asking about it. What do you do for homeschool? Like, how does it work? And I always say, Minerva, you need to contact them and get going with them, because it's made my life so much easier.